All right, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Designated Players Podcast. As you can see, we have the usual three hosts here, but we are joined by a extremely special guest that we are honored to have here, former MLS pro and a member of the board for the Black Players for Change, Quincy Amarikwa. Quincy, how you doing, man?
I'm doing well, but I was doing better before you said former MLS pro. Come on, bro. I'm in my free agency, which means I'm
That's on me.
signed by any team, domestic or international. Okay, I just want to make sure we're clearing that up. This is not a former here.
All right,
I'm just throwing it out there.
We're gonna make sure we know that because from the only thing that I can say is that there are a few teams out there, one that might be playing right now who definitely needs some help up top. So I'm gonna make sure we put in a good word and get you over there.
Hey, I appreciate that. Like I said, I think what did I say before? I think I'm the first pro soccer player to outsource their career to the fans. I'm just like, yo, hey, we're all in this together. You guys have these conversations. You think I'd be valuable to the organization? Hey, talk with the person, the decision maker. Let's make a deal happen. Let's go.
Oh, yeah. Well, let's say as we go through weekly checks for how the games go, and since the league has started, Red Bull have played 4 games, have played with 2 strikers in each game, and have 0 goals from those strikers. So, at this point, I could probably go up top there and do as good of a job. So. It is an honor to have you here, man. We hope you're doing well, and we are really excited to get to talk to you about your life in MLS, your life in the podcasting world, and then your involvement with the BPC and how things are going, because it's such a huge movement right now and it's making such great strides in the league and in the world. We're really excited to get a conversation going about that, because very rarely do people get to sit down and have firsthand knowledge about that. So I'm very excited to have that conversation with you. Before we jump into any of that, though, of course, we got to jump into Scarf of the Week. And we always, when we have guests on the show, we always start with our buddy Connor on the far side, simply because his is the quickest, because he's only got one. Connor, go ahead.
Because look, I only have one because I'm just consistently supporting my one love. I have my Atlanta United scarf, and I would certainly love to make a plea for you to join the team, Quincy, because last time I checked, we got 0 goals from every player in the tournament. So we need all the help we can get. So I would love to see you on the team.
I love that. You might have to you gotta look back at the Quincy Claus article and then maybe go down that path and see if people are open to the idea of understanding that times have changed. The game has evolved, and you must adapt or die. If you're an individual, so we'll talk more about this on the Atlanta side, right? If you're someone who views the game and you believe that American players are dumb and don't know how to play football and they don't know how to play the game, okay, then you're very far behind the times. And you are going to get beat by a lot of people consistently, and you're going to wonder how it happened and what went wrong. And, that's that MSL mentality that we're talking about here now. So we'll get more into all of that. That'll be good. I like that. But I appreciate that, man. Like, I'm down. Just where's the offers at? People just send them my way. I'll have a look, make a deal happen.
Adam, what are you rocking today?
So I was going to wear the Toronto scarf again, just because I don't have a San Jose scarf. So in honor of one of Quincy's teams was going to be the Toronto scarf, but I realized I wore that the last 2 episodes we did, so I decided to change it up. I went with the Champions League, not MLS themed, but the Barcelona-Lyon Champions League game that I got to see at the new camp last year, 2 years ago.
Is that what's the name of the Olympi? What is that?
It's Lyon.
Is that the team that we played DC last year? Is that the same team, or is that a different team?
That's a good question. Maybe. I will find out.
Okay.
Possibly. All right. Well, while he looks it up, I'll jump into what I got. I am rocking, in honor of having another former pro here, I'm rocking a New York Red Bull. It says defend your fortress, and then this is something that I got signed by my favorite player of all time, Luis Robles. Yeah, Luis, Adam and I got to meet Luis in New Jersey on one of his last days in New Jersey before he left for Miami. And he's a top lad, really great individual. Just he is he's always been my favorite player. And when I started to get older and he got to be more of a focal point as a leader and just as a person, I got to really enjoy his style as a leader himself. And when I got to meet him, it was dream come true. And so that's why I brought this one out. And Quincy, you want to show off the scarf you're rocking today?
Yeah. So I like. Yeah, I got my perfect soccer scarf, makeshift scarf. When I joined in on the call, you guys had let me know that you guys rock scarves. I didn't have one, so we've got a makeshift scarf towel here. I'm rocking the classic perfect soccer branded scarf. I like how you guys are doing this. How did the scarf idea come about? Like what's the story behind that?
That was a first week thing where we were kind of like, what is something different instead of just sitting down and just talking about what we see every week? What can we do to spice it up a little bit? Adam has like 80 scarves in bags sitting around.
Probably close to 60. I don't know.
I thought you were a little more.
The goal.
Yeah, and then I had like 9, 10, 11, maybe 12 of them now, and it was just one of those things where why don't we just rotate and show them all off? And unfortunately, Connor still is lacking behind us, but it was something that we started off on the first episode and just kind of kept going. And now I am actually in the process of creating a podcast scarf wall where anybody who we interview, the teams that are associated with them, will have a scarf that I will pick up and hang eventually in one area so that I have a scarf that represents everybody we've interviewed before. So I have to ask you, for you, which scarf should I pick up? Which team or organization, which should I pick up? Which scarf should be the Quincy Amarikwa scarf?
You mean like it has to be a professional team?
So like it represents something for you. So we interviewed actually my soccer coach from college was on Bolton U18s and long time removed, but it's been in his club forever. So I'll have a Bolton scarf coming in this week. There was David Asoma, who is a actually former Earthquake player. I think he was there just a little bit before you got there. But he also is best known for his time in Leeds. So Leeds scarf will come in. Just so any pro team that you were with, but I know you were with a few of them.
Okay, so it has to be a pro team that I was with, and it has to be a pro team. Before you gave the caveat of a pro, I was going to say, okay, if you can go and find a Bakersfield Alliance scarf from my old youth soccer days, then okay, go do that. I'm more just like old school throwback.
Oh, we could do that. I mean, if that's what I can do that, no problem whatsoever. We can find a Bakersfield scarf and get that going. I'm going to take a note right now.
See if you can. Okay, so then I'll give you a couple that you could go see if you could find, because I'd be interested if you could find this, right?
Uh-huh.
So Bakersfield Alliance 87, Bakersfield Alliance scarf.
Mm-hmm.
If you can find that.
Yep.
From youth soccer growing up. Then I'd say I will save the space of my scarf because I want you to get the scarf for the first professional team that I have equity ownership in.
I like that.
So that'll come.
Great.
Hopefully we'll make that happen sooner than later. But I'd like that to be my placeholder for the one. So
all right. Great. I love that. That is noted. It is there, and we will save a spot for when that happens. And when it does, we'll make sure you know that it is on its way.
I love that. And we'll have an episode to discuss it, and then we can chop this episode and bring it together, and it's going to be great.
Perfect. It'll be so good. It'll be so good. All right.
Before we move on, Quincy, you played against Marseille last year. That was unfortunately the game you guys conceded 8 goals, but you did score the only one for DC. So
is that the same team?
No.
Okay, so this is a different one.
Different French team.
Okay. That's what I said. That was the first time I had heard that team name before, and we played them last year. So that's why I was asking if it was the same.
Gotcha. All right. So just quick rundown for everybody listening what we're going to talk about. Essentially, Quincy's background and how he got into MLS and his career in there. And then once he was not done with, but currently out of MLS. I gotcha. He moved into a podcast and mental strength coaching, which is something that's very interesting to. You had two former players on this podcast, and we understand definitely how the mental strength aspect plays into things like that. So we'd love to pick your brain on that, and then finally wrapping it up with his involvement with the BPC and how it all got started and where it's going to go, and its impact on not only the MLS back tournament right now, but what's going to go happen in the future, and then. We'll obviously go with the Who Am I segment that we do with most of the people who interview here, and then a few fan questions. So if you're up for it, let's jump right into it and talk about your intro to MLS. How did you get to MLS?
Okay, well then that's an extremely long story because it depends on where you want to start. You guys know how this works with me.
Yeah, start wherever. Well, that's the thing. We know how much you have to share, so start wherever you feel comfortable.
Okay. So at the expense of making this like a 6-hour-long episode, you guys know I wouldn't mind doing that at all.
We wouldn't either.
Okay, so we'll do the quicker version, and if you guys want more insight or to go deeper, I can always do that. So we'll say, my father's Nigerian American. He immigrated here from Owerri, Nigeria, and obviously soccer is the biggest sport in the world everywhere other than America, but that's only a matter of time. Right? We're busy working on that, so that's no big problem. But that's where I was and how I was introduced to soccer from a young age. I started playing at 3 with him. We'd go to what I call Nigerian League, and all that really is every Saturday we'd meet at a local park, and it would be 50 v 50 to 100 v 100 on two like 2 foot by 2 foot goals, 200 yards apart to 300. It just depends. It's an ever evolving game. Light shirts versus dark shirts, and anyone and everyone is welcome to play. And that's where I started with my dad and learned the game. People wanting to see kind of what that looks like. I was doing the Life of the Pro series back when I was with San Jose, and I forget which Life of the Pro episode, the vlog. You could see a little bit of what that's like. And if you're in Bakersfield, go ahead and check out for the game. But that's kind of where I grew up and learned. I then was coached by my dad at AYSO level for a few years, and then I eventually went for club soccer. That's the Bakersfield Alliance. Shout out that I was telling you guys in terms of the scarf there. I played in Bakersfield for several years, more in the entirety of my youth career, and I played high school as well too. And I think most people may know my story if you're in the soccer space. I did not have any soccer players that I watched growing up. I didn't watch soccer on TV. I didn't follow it at all. I don't have a favorite player. I don't have a favorite team. I never have. And other than the team that I'm playing for currently, that's my favorite team, whatever team I'm playing for. And I just love the game. And I played because I love the game. And I think mainly because of my experience and injury. I broke my femur. I think I was 11 years old when I broke my femur, and ended up coming back. I think a lot of the experiences I had in soccer led to my perspective on the game. And the reason why I shared that is because of how I eventually was able to make it to MLS and play at the MLS level. I think the reason why that became an opportunity for me was because of how I was approaching the game from a young age. And that was just learning how to be the best at the level I'm currently at and beat my competition at the level that I'm at. It wasn't to get to the next level. It wasn't to play pro. It was just, this guy's better than me today. What do I need to do to be better? And I just learned from the guys that I played with. So every level I started out at, I was the lowest, and then I learned everything, and then I would be able to make the jump to the next. So I always happen to be the guy that just made it into the next level. So then everyone starts out thinking and seeing me at the bottom and thinking I'm terrible, which is great, because then I get to learn. I figure it out. I learn how to survive. MSL mentality, adapt or die. That's what we do. And I can better articulate what my process is and how I go about doing it now. At the time, I was just doing things to survive, right? You're figuring out how to learn. I can better articulate it now, which is another skill set that you learn at this level, high-level communication skills. Woo, the game evolves. But my main point on all of that is I got to as high a level as I could with Bakersfield Alliance in high school. And I wasn't getting any recruitment offers. My limited understanding at the time was if you're good enough, you get seen, they offer you scholarship, you go play. That's what I thought it was. And I think I was scoring like 24 to 26 goals junior, senior year at varsity, and I didn't get anything. So I just assumed I must not be good enough to play soccer. So that's fine. I had the pole vaulting record at my high school, so my plan was to go to UC Berkeley. I got into UC Berkeley academically. I was going to try to walk onto the track and field team and, do pre-med, and while there, try to start a business and try to figure something out so I don't have to go to medical school. But that's plan B, right? My last tournament with Bakersfield Alliance, 2 coaches who were to recruit a year out came to watch the other team play because they were scouting the defenders on the other team, and they had seen me in that game, and they had both asked who I was and where I was going to school and all of that. How old was I? I was a 16-year-old. I was 15. Was I a 15-year-old senior turning 16? Yeah, I was a 16-year-old senior. I was like a 15-year-old senior turned 16, right? So then I was 16, and they were thinking that, okay, he should be a junior, right, and has one more year. But they're saying, no, he's a senior, and nobody's recruiting him. So from that game, I got seen and recruited in that one night. So I ended up going to UC Davis, and I had my 4 years at Davis, and I was there for school, right? I was doing pre-med, and I was playing soccer, obviously because I enjoyed it, but it was helping me pay for school. It wasn't until my senior year, right, that the idea of pro even came across my mind, and I always remember it was Chris Baville. So there you go. Shout out Chris Baville if you guys do research on him. Maybe spam him with stuff so he's just like, what's going on? He was the first person that said, Quincy, we all know that you're going pro. And that was the first time I heard that. I was like, what do you mean? I'm like, okay, going pro would be cool. I'm down for like what that looks like, but I don't even know I don't know anything about that. I did well my senior year, and I got invited to the combine. So I went to the combine and was just at the combine, and then was back in school, and then the draft happened, and I was in I think it was I was at exercise bio 104 lab. We're in the middle of lab, and those are like 3.5-hour labs. And then my phone starts blowing up. I look at it saying congratulations, and it's saying, hey, you got drafted to the San Jose Earthquakes. And I was like, okay, cool. I don't really know what that means, but all right, let's go do some research on Google. And I looked up general manager was John Doyle, right? And then head coach was Frank Yallop. And I was like, okay, I know head coach. What's general manager? That's where I started. So that's how I got there. And that's what I knew going in. And now we're 11 years into it. And I didn't know anything when I started. I probably still don't know too much now, but I know more than when I started. That's what I know for sure. So that's as quick. There you go. That's what I said. It could get. Oh yeah. I'm trying to give the shortened version.
That's awesome. It's so crazy how there are so many different ways to get to the same place, right? You see people who are, since they've been 11 years old, they were going to be the number 1 pick, and everybody knew they were going to be great. Then you have people who just kind of work their way to get to that point, and we love hearing those types of stories. Do you know anybody in the same draft class as you? Like, do you know any of the bigger names that were drafted in that draft year, 2009?
Yeah, like from the combine, like just names of people.
Yeah.
So okay, I'll give you this one. This is good. I don't know if I've ever told this story, but when I showed up at the combine, understand, like, I don't know anything about soccer at all, right? Like, other than probably barely the rules to play, right? I don't know how the World Cup works. I don't know Champions League. I don't know any of that stuff. And I haven't, and I wasn't following any players at our college level. It was just like, who are we playing on the weekend? You show up and you play them on the weekend. Like, that's just, it's just like, who's in front of you today? That's who you need to beat, not their highlight tape from 10 years ago, right? That's how I approach it. When I got there at the combine, Steve Zakwani was on my team, and I was not impressed at all, right? Because when I was there, I was going like, this guy doesn't really care. I'm just being honest with you guys, right? I'm going like, oh, this guy doesn't really care. Okay. And there's other guys where I'm like, they don't really care. That's where I'm thinking like, what's going on? Like, oh, okay, guys are out of shape or they're not really taking it serious. Like, I don't understand, right? I'm just in here like, well, okay, I'm figuring it out. And I remember Steve, and I'm going like, oh, okay, this guy, I'm not impressed by him or a couple of other guys, right? But then I remember coming back to the hotel because you're there. I think we were in where were we? Fort Lauderdale, I think is where we were. We were on Florida, and one of the guys, he was walking by in the lobby, and because he was on my team, right? And they're like, "Oh, that's the number 1 draft pick." And I was like, "What?" Right? So I don't. It would have been great if I remember who said that to me, right? But I was like, "What are you talking about?" And they're like, "Yo, check this out," right? And they pulled up his YouTube highlights of him at, I think it's Akron. Is he at Akron? Okay. And I'm looking at this dude's highlight tape. I'm like, damn, this guy's next level. Whoa. Like, so if you guys haven't seen Zakwani's highlight tape, go check that out. Because that's when I was like, oh, okay, these guys are here because it's a done deal or they've already got a contract or they're not trying to get injured. Like, there's a bunch of different reasons why guys aren't taking this serious, and that is a reason to not – I think this is important for anybody who wants to play, right? That's your advantage, right? That can be your advantage because now if you show up at those things and guys already think it's a done deal, that's where you can set yourself apart, right? That's where you can kind of stand out. So I think a big mistake that a lot of players make is they do get complacent and they go, oh, this is okay. So again, this is what I'm saying. This is for someone who wants to work their way up.
Right.
Now, at that place in those times, what I do know now as well, too, is most of the coaches and general managers and all that, they've already done their scouting. They already know who they want. They already know what they're trying to do. And many people, they're not even really looking at you. They're not giving you a fair shake. So it's two sides of the coin, right? But understanding that is important because you can come up with a strategy that will help you. So I know we're talking about multiple things here, but Steve Zakwani was there. I think Omar Gonzalez was there. Sam Cronin was there.
Mm-hmm.
Stuart Seus was there. Now you're making me test my mentality, right? My memory. Who else was there? A lot of guys who ended up being in the league for a long time. De La Garza was there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, draft class. Johnny Manziel. Hey, what do you think? Ooh. Ooh, was Teal Bunbury there or was he the following year?
Not sure. Teal Bunbury.
So we are going to quiz you on some of these guys in a little bit if you want to.
Okay.
Crack your brain.
Okay, all good. Okay.
Yeah,
Teal was the following year.
Okay, Teal was right. That Teal was the following year. Okay, I'll put that in the back and I'll hear the other questions that you got.
For sure. But yeah, no, that's a crazy story about Zakwani. I didn't even, that was right when we all starting to follow the league. So the only thing I remember about Steve Zakwani is unfortunately his injury. That's the only thing I can remember about him.
Okay, and that was with Colorado Rapids. That was Brian Mullen and went through his leg, and I could hear the snap from the stand, so I was there.
Yeah, that's unfortunately the only thing I remember. But I remember hearing he had a lot of potential, but then that's right after that.
Yeah, he would have been It's unfortunate at this point. I remember the play and I remember how it played out and why it happened. Yeah, I guess I remember it, and I guess we don't have to rehash it unless people are asking specific questions about it. But I saw it, I remember it, I can see how both sides, how it looked, why it happened, and it's unfortunate that I think the way his leg had healed, it just didn't. It wasn't something that he was able to come back from, which was disappointing because he was a really great player.
Obviously not knowing or not being aware of the fact that you got drafted, getting drafted so close to where you were living and growing up. How was it, getting drafted by the Earthquakes, making it nice easy commute, as opposed to like a Florida team?
Well, I don't know about nice easy commute because I was
Oh,
still and this is why I say that I was still in school,
yeah.
right? So I was getting up at like, I don't know, 5:30 in the morning, and then I was driving 2 hours to San Jose so that I could make training. And then at 1, training would kind of be done, and then I'd drive back to Davis so I'd take my night classes and stuff. So it was good in the sense that I was still able to like continue my school and play with San Jose. I guess I didn't really think anything beyond. I wasn't thinking of anything beyond it. It was more just like, here's an opportunity. Let's try the best and make the best of it. But then the following year, I got traded to Colorado, and then that's a completely different experience. Like, there's no, hey, you want to get traded? No, it's just like, hey, guess what? You go there. So that was, then I had to, just pack up and leave, which was just interesting. But I think looking back, I think because I hear other guys tell their stories about, I was getting drafted, it's my team, I loved it, I was looking forward to it my whole life, I went to games, right? And I'm just like, I was in class, they said I'm drafted, and I didn't know what that meant. But then once I showed up, I realized being drafted doesn't mean anything either. Quincy, you're on a glorified tryout where there's still 40 other guys who are going to be here, and there is no guaranteed contract. There isn't anything being offered to you. And if you are offered a contract, it's semi-guaranteed, which means it's at will, which basically means we can cut you at any point in time for any reason, and there's no pay to you. Oh, and we still own your rights internationally. So if you go sign with another club, you have to come back to us and ask permission to go sign with that club, which then means we can say, we want $1 million transfer fee for him. So like, when I was coming in to MLS, the contracts and how things were set up, if you learned how to survive during those times, oh man, now, come on, when guys are complaining to me now about stuff, I'm like, I'm glad you guys are complaining, because that just means you're making the job easier for me. Mental strength, the value of mental strength is about to go through the roof out here. If you guys are concerned about the stuff you're concerned about now, like, guys were on food stamps when I was starting. You're applying for food stamps, you're living in like but that was normal. I'm not like, I loved it. I still do. I think that's what makes the story. Like, look at me here now. If I was telling you like, I had all the resources and everyone rooting for me, and I started in a 20-bedroom mansion, and I had someone serving me food and getting, you know what I mean? It's not the same as, I was living in the corner of my room, and we were applying for, my friend was applying for food stamps, and I was driving back and forth between finishing my degree and playing pro. And then you got just sent to Colorado, and it's just like, hey, figure that out. That's the parts of this process that I really enjoy. That's why I've liked professional, and it's bittersweet, because as the league becomes more professional and more money comes into it, there's going to be less and less of those ridiculous stories and like that. So it's good.
So kind of on the topic of how things were in the past versus today, how do you think the path to becoming a pro has changed since when you were growing up to your time getting into MLS?
Okay. You guys be asking real heavy, big, broad questions, right? And what I try to do, and a reason why a lot of my conversations end up going pretty far, right, is try to share with enough context so that it's relevant a year, 2, 3, 4 years from now, not just a week from now, right? And that's how you build a foundation to build something of value over time. And something that I try to get guys to really be mindful of when they are trying to set out on this path to make the professional level. The likelihood that you get to a professional level is a tenth of a percent. It's nearly impossible. And that's what I want everybody to understand when they're getting started. It doesn't mean it is impossible. It just means nearly. So how can you go about building a foundation so that eventually when your career ends, because no matter how good you are, it will eventually end, that fall from where you are is as soft of landing as possible. And most pros don't spend any time building that foundation, right? And that is something that I have not seen change in the professional game. And that's why I've been so adamant about building these systems and processes, breaking down these things and sharing my perspective the way that I have for as long as I have. Because I see many players who are going or are in the middle of their fall from grace, right? And there aren't many opportunities for them to tap into because the infrastructure hasn't been built for them. More importantly, they didn't build it for themselves. And that's what I really want guys to be focused on and thinking more about. Most people are thinking about who's doing stuff for me, and that's how most pros are thinking, as opposed to what am I building for myself. So from that perspective, that hasn't changed on the pro side, but I think it is changing, and it's in the process of changing because we're having conversations like this and other people are going to be listening and they're going to learn from it. And hopefully they'll learn for themselves the hard way, like me, making a bunch of mistakes and pissing people off along the way, or they'll learn from the mistakes from people like me who pissed people off and made a bunch of mistakes along the way, right? So the goal is to hopefully learn and share our experiences and share the lessons so we can all kind of move forward together more quickly. So on that side, that's what I don't think has changed, but I think that's en route, right? I think the path to pro has become even more difficult and more cookie cutter because of the pay-to-play system, because of the academy system, because of the closed nature of MLS. It's looked at as more and more as a business every passing year. And because of that, most parents, most players aren't understanding the business of the game, which is why the likelihood and chance that they'll get to a professional level is even lower than when I'm starting out, right?
Mm-hmm.
The chances of you being a kid who grew up in Bakersfield, California, the hotbed of soccer players in the world, so that you heard that here first, getting to the college level, then getting to the MLS level, then getting to a position where they're having an 11-year career, having no contacts and no understanding of the game and starting from scratch, the likelihood that that happens today, now, when you say different, when I view it, is much less likely to happen unless I'm the one that's picking you out, right? Because most organizations are saying, okay, we want to go internal. We want to only pull from the kid that we've been investing from at our academy level since he was 13 years old. And if we put $500,000 into this kid since he was 13 or 12 up to now he's 18, and you were playing for some local club since you were 13 to 18, and you could be better, you could be much better than that kid at the academy level, it's very difficult for that person who's making a decision to take a risk on you because he has no track record to prove the investment the organization's already made. Because now, if you think about it, from the top down, they're going like, well, why are we investing in our academy and the people here if you're going to go outside of that and give those opportunities to other people outside? So that's what I'm seeing in terms of that on the pro level. But it's very interesting that that's what's happening on the grassroots level, or, you know, the youth level, when at the MLS level, it's we'd rather go and grab from outside than invest in our home domestic talent. Our home domestic talent, we want to pay pennies on the dollar. We don't want to give them anything. We want to nickel and dime them to death. But we'll go and spend a ridiculous amount of money off of someone from outside of the country, which is fine, but you're only doing it because you're buying them for the PR. You're hoping for the press and things that go along with that. But those, when they're coming here, they're not thinking of investing in the long term. the way in which players like a Valeri did, right? Like a Piatti did.
Mm-hmm.
Like when those guys came over here, they're coming and investing for the long term. You see how they've grown with the league and all of that. But there's a lot now that shift is coming where I think most guys are going like, you can go to America, get a fat payday, not have to win anything. The media doesn't kill you. You don't have to participate. You're not invested in anything. They'll come over and get visas for your entire family. They'll expedite all that. They'll change all the rules so that everything works for you. And then if it doesn't work and things don't go well, they'll blame Americans because Americans suck and they're not good and they don't know football. They don't understand it. So, I mean, like, what better place to go than America if you're not an American soccer player? Like, if anything doesn't work, and I know we're talking about a lot of stuff, and this is what I'm telling you, this is what I'm seeing about the game.
No,
right?
This is great.
Okay, and this is the problem.
Yeah.
And the problem's happening because American viewers think we suck.
Mm-hmm.
And they say it. The announcers, the announcers drag all the time. They're not teaching the audience about the game and the nuance of the game. And the reason for that is a lot of them don't know what they're talking about and they can't break it down. Their communication skills and levels are very low. But no one knows that because there's no one to compare them to, because there's no one else there's no competing. You're just letting people who are ignorant about what they're talking about just spew endlessly because, hey, viewers, and they've been doing it for a long time. So, yeah, man, you guys will get me going, and then we'll see where it goes.
It's so cool to see a person who has been at the highest level say the exact same things that we've been saying on the conversations on our couches for the last 5 years. We had the same exact conversation, I'm pretty sure, last night, Adam and I, when we were listening to Shep Messing and Steve Cangelosi talk, who are Red Bull announcers every week in and week out. Love them as people. Met them at a Supporter Shield party through our supporters groups, and they're great people. Do not know the game worth a lick, and you've got.
Okay, I hear. Okay, now here's where I play the counter on that. All right.
Go ahead.
Okay, and this is the thing that we're having the conversations on this, and this will be good because when we end up talking about Black Players for Change, right?
Uh-huh.
Okay. Soccer is subjective.
Okay.
A referee will call one foul a red card, and Simon Borg will say it wasn't a. You should shout out Simon Borg, right?
Bring back Simon Borg, please.
Okay, so, and another person will say it's not a foul, right? A lot of the times, the person's making the decision based on what's in their best interest. Right?
Yeah.
Oh, well, it's not a foul because that's my team and I don't want it to be a foul. It is a foul because it's against my team and I want it to be a foul, right? So what I'm always making sure I'm careful about, and even, giving everybody the benefit of the doubt as well too. And more importantly, what determines what understanding the game actually means, right? So, like, because if someone doesn't agree with your philosophy of the game, then they don't understand the game. Is that the answer is that where we're coming to? Or maybe we don't understand their philosophy, which is why we're actually thinking on a lower level. They're thinking on a higher level.
Right.
Right. So how are you coming to the conclusion that he doesn't understand the game? And that's the type of things that we need to be talking about, because you could be right, but you also could be absolutely wrong.
Right, for sure. I think I definitely should have chosen words differently there, but the instance that had in my head was there was a free kick that went in. It went through about 7 or 8 players before it went through the entire defensive line. And Shep Messing goes in and says the guy on the back post needs to do a diving header to get on that when he was 7 yards away and stuff like that. And that's where I was, so he knows the game. It's his commentary on that type of stuff. And then you look at people who are like, oh, well, they don't try hard enough because they're not doing these diving headers, when it's not really the right situation that calls for it. So I agree. I definitely need to choose words better. But yeah, I see exactly what you're coming from.
You see what I'm saying? Okay, so not even better, more accurately.
Yes.
Okay? Because in the way in which you're providing commentary right now, you're talking about 2 individuals of which I don't know, right?
Right.
In real time. And I'm hearing you, but based on your breakdown of how you're conveying the message to me about what they do or don't know about the game, I question your knowledge of the game. Got it?
Yeah.
So, okay, so what we need to really be discussing and talking about is how we discuss and talk about the game. So when you have a criticism of someone else, that's fine, but talk about the specific scenario. Because if you do that, now you're protecting yourself here in the short term and the long term, right? Because if you give blanket statements, now anyone can discredit you at all in the future. You already dragging this person, so you're doing the same thing that we just talked about, dragging them,
Right.
as opposed to being critical of his process of thinking. And his process of thinking may include everything that you just talked about right now, right? But your communication didn't elicit your process of thinking. So that the moment that you said, well, this is the specific play, it got through 7 people, and then his commentary was he's got to make a diving header save. And you saw where you got me on board with you. I said, okay,
Yeah.
I understand what you're talking about.
This is
You know
going to have to be a 6-hour episode because you have so much to share, and I need to learn everything from you. Oh, it's great.
No, it's great. I'm sure we'll connect several times over more. And as we go through it, you'll gain more experiences. You'll gain more knowledge. You'll have more questions, right? And then you'll test new ideas and new things. And some things will work, and some things will you'll be like, oh man, saying that caused a huge issue and problem for me.
Yeah.
I understand what the problem was. This is how I adjust and I go moving forward. And that's how I gained the experience to be able to, in real time, while we're having these conversations, breaking it down, right? It's like, hey, okay, you might have a valid criticism, but if your message doesn't get through to the other person, and by that I mean the audience, our goal is to educate the audience to the point that on their own, by the time they're listening to these guys on television, they go like, what? This is a terrible analysis and breakdown. And now they're gunning them on Twitter and Instagram like, yo, go back to school and educate yourself, or get someone here on the air who can more accurately convey what's going on, break it down, and educate the audience. I think a great example of someone who does an amazing job of that is Joe Rogan. If anybody watches any of his commentary in UFC, right? He's breaking it down so that you can understand the nuance that's happening, even if 2 guys are grappling on the mat, right? Someone who's casually watching goes like, nothing's happening, this is boring, change it, right? But he can say, hey, look at the position of this guy's hips, and look at where this other guy's holding his arm. And because of that creates a very difficult moment for this. So this is extremely difficult. This is extremely tiring. If you're not understanding this, go out in your backyard on your own, and then go hold up a gallon of milk for a minute and see what it feels like. Doing commentary that way gives people a much deeper appreciation for the sport and allows for them to invest more of their time and attention into it. And once that starts to happen, there's a deep relationship there, right? And yeah, the community grows. And I know that that's what we want, right? We want to see MLS do well. That's what we want. We're not criticizing it because we want it to go away. We're criticizing it because we want it to be better.
Yeah.
But we also have to come up with solutions. So this is a great conversation. I'm liking this, guys.
So do you think that now that MLS and other leagues now have VAR, that's helpful or not? Because Andrew and I were watching what game last night? The Montreal game, where Felipe comes flying into a tackle, basically goes studs up on, I can't remember who's.
Wanyama.
Thank you. Quad, gets a yellow, but from the way it looked and the replays showed it from a bunch of angles, easily could have broken his leg. Was given as a yellow. VAR didn't check it. The referee looked like he was talking to whoever in his ear, but it's those kind of like inconsistent, and that's probably just the VAR still, kind of getting worked out. But I feel like we get certain situations that are called a penalty that maybe are a little soft, and there are no calls that you're like, all right, well, that guy just got taken out by a sniper.
Got you.
Okay, where's the line of, if we want to learn this game, like, we need a little bit of consistency on that end.
Got you. So, all right. So now I'll pose. So I like to So what I talk about is you don't really understand something until you can argue both sides, right?
Mhm.
So let's argue on the side of VAR and referees. Let's say they are consistent in their calls. You're not consistent in your understanding of the rules.
Okay.
So let's assume that they're doing everything perfectly. We're not understanding what the rules are. And maybe the rules are something to the effect of like, if VAR can't assess something within 15 seconds of it happening, the default is to allow play to go on. And if we miss something, we'll reprimand the player after the fact because there's nothing that we can necessarily do.
Mm-hmm.
If that's the rule, I'm not saying that is. I'm just saying if that's the rule, then if we had that understanding, we wouldn't be as angry with things that we're missing. We'd be angry if after the game we found out there was no recourse. Then we'd say, okay, that's a failure on VAR because you guys aren't doing the follow-up. So what's the problem in the information chain or the follow-up process? Okay, so that's where one side where we're arguing in favor of the referees and side like that. But then where I fall to the audience in the argument is in saying, well, if that is true or something like that is true, the fact that that is not repeatedly repeated and showcased and highlighted and repeated by the announcers, right, on the board maybe every 15 minutes or so, for enough time for people to understand, the same way in which it takes people a very long time to learn the offsides rule.
Right.
But the moment you got it, you got it.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Okay, so that's what we're talking about here. We're really saying, okay, VAR is like offside. It's, right? Everyone says offside is clear and cut, but in the run of play in live, it's not. It is. If anyone says that calling offside in live it is ridiculously difficult. Sideline referees need way more money because you get killed for getting it wrong. It is almost impossible, again, nearly impossible to not get it wrong. Like, it's very, very hard to do. And when you have 40 camera angles that can look at it at super slow-mo and then have a line that draws through the thing and you're watching the replay, it's very easy from the couch and at home to be like, how do you miss that? What's going on? That's a terrible call. But where I'm in alignment with the audience is I say at the end of the day, this is what VAR is meant to address and fix. So if the audience can see that it's blatant and obvious and an issue and not correct, then there needs to be a step in the process that educates the audience to understand why or if you got it wrong and if not. Because at the end of the day, I think people just want to see people take responsibility when they get it wrong, right? Like a referee will get way more respect in my mind, in my eye on the field when they can just look at you and be like, hey, my bad, I missed that one.
Yeah.
I'm not going to make up for it, right? But I'm acknowledging that I made a mistake. I got it wrong. Let's continue. When guys are walking around not acknowledging when they get stuff wrong and they're passing the blame or all that, that's when problems arise. So I know we're talking about multiple things and we're tying it together, but I'm trying to use our common experience of soccer to understand that for me, I see it as that kind of problem, but one where people's VAR still hasn't even decided what the offside rule is yet. And I feel like they don't want to because they want to be able to – here's another advantage because I'm thinking in terms of all the problems, because there's a lot of problems there's a lot of issues that have to be addressed, right?
Right.
A problem that you can run into is if you tell people this is the rule and this is what happens, then you start going down that path and then you see that rule doesn't account for all of the nuance and problems. Then when you update it and change it, everyone then gets angry. Whoa, why are you changing it? You already told us what it is. You guys, now we can't believe you. We can't trust what you're doing because we don't know if you're going to change it again in the future. So this is where the audience is very unreasonable. You guys want it perfect the first time, no mess ups, no issues, no problems. You don't want to pay for it. You want it to come right away. You want it to be perfect, and you want to blame them for every single time they get something wrong. But if you get something wrong or there's something that doesn't go right on your side, you want all the forgiveness and understanding.
Right.
I said the offside stuff just bothers me when like you forgot to cut your toenails that day and they're drawing geometry lines, and as a striker I could imagine you'd be livid if you got called off for that.
Yes, and I think I think that takes away from the game because at the end of the day, I think tie goes to runner, right? I think if it's close, it counts. And more importantly, I think let the run of play. I know everybody's a little bit different, but for me, I say let the run of play happen. Let the sequence of play end. And if it's a goal, it's a goal. And then you can review and then call offside after the fact, right? If the guy's running offside, I understand when the linesman goes down and then waits and raises their flag and stuff afterwards. I think guys should finish the play because – yeah, I think you should finish the play. I think the job is you allow the referees after the fact to determine if it counted or not, if that's where we're going. That way guys aren't stuck between two minds. Like they're not going 100% because they think there's a call, then they realize it's not offside, then he misses it, then everyone's looking at each other. And I'm going like, you solve that issue if you just tell everyone play the game until the ball goes out of bounds or it goes in the back of the goal.
Yeah.
And then after that happens –
then
you can decide if the goal counted or if it didn't count. And if the guys want to draw all the geometry lines on VAR and all that kind of stuff to determine if the goal counts or not, then that's fine. But it has to be the same consistency all the time. And I think one thing that they're missing out on and they're getting wrong is like, I think what I did watch one of the games. The ball hit a player's hand in the box. And there's a penalty. What game was that recently?
Was that the Colorado SKC game?
Ooh, Colorado SKC. Was that
2 red cards?
Oh man, I remember the image and I remember the game, but I think the main issue for it with me was like VAR calls it a handball in the box because the defender jumps to block. The other guy heads the ball, it hits him in the top of the hand, but the ref doesn't see it, and it takes a while until all of a sudden VAR ends up calling him over. They look at it, and they say, hey, that's a penalty in the box, right? Those ones get very tricky because you're saying, hey, we're 2 or 3 minutes into the game, then all of a sudden the game stops because VAR says that that's a penalty well after the fact. Yeah. So in those instances, yeah, that's where you have to now you're coming up with. You're saying, okay, is it better that we play 2 minutes or 3 minutes of the game and then VAR goes and says, hey, that's a yellow, or that's a penalty? So then this comes down to the audience. Which would you prefer? Would you prefer that, we're 3 minutes into the game and then all of a sudden we stop it and we come back and we do the penalty? Or are we of the mindset of if the ref isn't able to see that in the moment and ask VAR like to stop it and then have VAR check, then we just chalk it up to like, okay, we didn't see it, because I think we played the game for a long time without VAR. So I don't know why this is why we get so caught up on stuff now. And except for when I tie back to what we were talking about at the beginning of the conversation, most people are mad only when it doesn't benefit their team.
True.
Right.
When it benefits your team, that VAR get it wrong, let me just be quiet.
Yeah.
And that right there, that's the issue. That's the real issue. That's the problem. Yeah. That's what I call out the audience with too, right? Love you guys. But this is where you're messing up, because you got to speak up when it's for and against. That's the only way that we actually address it and fix it, unless we all agree that that's part of it. And that's what I like about the game. Hey, sometimes it goes your way, sometimes it doesn't. And when it goes my way, I'm going to celebrate and dance in your face and just say that you're horrible and you don't know what you're doing. You know what I mean? Like, and you suck and my team's the best and we're the greatest. And you're just complaining because we're the greatest. And then I'm going to be super sad and down when it doesn't go my way. So that's what I love about the game. That's what I like about it. I think that's where it is. Mm-hmm. But now we're getting into philosophy and ideology of stuff. And yeah, that's why I say a lot of this stuff we're talking about are very nuanced things, because that's what soccer is, you know? Yeah.
One other thing I wanted to add, not to keep going on this topic, because I know there's other things that we wanted to talk about as well, but I know VAR has some things that it needs to work on, but one thing that I do like about it is, in the past, I feel like if a call was made on the field, it's usually the referee making the call, and that's just one perspective of the play. But now with VAR, the referee can make a call on the field, and then you can maybe see other players on the field up in arms, upset about the call, and maybe that's because they had a different perspective of the play. Maybe they got to see something that the referee didn't. And now having VAR, you can take a look from those other perspectives and be like, hey, maybe the referee's perspective wasn't the right one. Now we have an opportunity to look and maybe make the correct call.
Okay, I got you on that. So let me throw a wrench in your thinking and let's see how we adapt to that, right? You've got multiple or additional perspectives with VAR now, right? But it's all filtered through one perspective of the guy who's in the booth, right?
Right.
Okay, he's got multiple perspectives, but he still has his own, and he has his lens that he's looking through. And when you say get it right, again, subjective.
What is right?
What is right? You know what I'm saying? Because now you're saying, okay, under any circumstances for which the ball hits your hand in the box is a penalty. Accidental, not accidental, hand up, hand doesn't matter. Grazes it, any of that, right? Getting it right only means if you have the perspective to substantiate what you're talking about. What if I was offside, but none of the perspectives I have show me offside? Then you're saying, oh, he got it right. I said, no, but you didn't. I was offside. I got away with it. And nobody knows that I got away with it because we didn't have the perspective to show that I was offside, right? But then, 5 years from now, we might have new technology that you see they've even got that drone now. So maybe they'll even be able to have a drone literally tracking each guy on top of his head. And now, okay, so this is the point that I'm wanting to convey and make with it. I'm going like, okay, eventually, if it gets so strategic in this and that, and now it's robotic. There's no emotion to it. There's no chance. It's just statistical numbers, not models and data. It's not art anymore, right? But then that's also subjective because other people will say numbers and data and all that. That's artistic. You can do it in a certain degree and fashion to get there. So the main thing is saying, hey, the game is subjective. It changes. There's ebbs and there's flows. And we're trying to create the most equitable and fair game we can, while also enjoying it and understanding that it's entertainment. But at the end of the day, I think that's the focal point for me. It's entertainment. Your job is to entertain. And some people love perfect ticky-tack football that entertains them. Others like characters on the field talking trash and getting in the heads of guys. One's your cup of tea, one's not. Right? Mm-hmm. So I understand the goal behind VAR and what it is it's trying to accomplish. But at the end of the day, I say, no matter what, unless we're having the algorithms and whatever make the decision whether it's onside or off, there's still human error. There's still a human in it. And that's where I think the emotion lies in the process. So now it's just saying, like, at what point in time are we just going to appreciate what we have and cultivate that? But then, at the end of the day, look at this conversation we get to have because of VAR.
Sure.
This is creating content for us. This is creating a job opportunity for us maybe in the future. So you're going to be mad that we're implementing these things? Well, look at this conversation we're having. The other people are going to maybe discover and find out about you because of a mistake that VAR made. Now they were disputing it, and now other people are learning more about the game. They're learning about VAR. They're learning about offside. They're learning about our brand, our history, the draft class, right, from 2009. It's a network. It's an ecosystem, and we're all connected. We're all in it together, and that's what I tried to hopefully bring everybody's attention to here at the end of the day. Positive, negative, long run's positive, so, or progress. I don't know which direction sometimes. This is good. I like this. This is good talk, guys.
Okay, so let's steer the train back to where we were before. So we were at the point where you were at San Jose,
Mhm.
and then you get traded to Colorado.
Mhm.
Now, when you were traded, were you aware at any point in time about what you were traded for or who you were traded for in the trade?
Oh no! Like, are you saying did I have any input or any
Like, did you
advice?
know
No, no,
who, like, or what you were
no.
getting traded for? No.
What it is they call you. You know it's a trade because all of a sudden the general manager is calling you, right? That's all it is. Like what? I guess I guess you don't know that until you've had like multiple general managers call you. Then you're like, okay, you get traded. Okay, so you pick it up. Oh yeah. Okay, so I'll tell the story as well too. There you go. This is good. Um, so I'm in Davis, right, and I have to drive 2 hours to and from San Jose, right. So I'm at the gas pump. I'm putting gas in my car. I'm getting ready to. What am I doing? I'm getting ready to go home. Phone call, John Doyle, right? I'm like, okay, this isn't good. Like I don't know what it is, but all right. Um, Pick up the phone. Hey, John, what's going on? Yeah, Quincy, what's going on? We need to have a conversation. We need to talk. I'm like, hey, John, honestly, could you just tell me over the phone, man? Because I'm 2.5 hours, you know what I mean, from San Jose. And basically, I'm just like, I'm a big boy. I can take it. Just tell me on the phone. Like, do I need to drive 2.5 hours for us to have a 5-minute conversation? He's like, oh, no, we got to do this in person. And I was like, oh, that's how much time I knew. I'm like, I'm traded something. It's not good news. It's not good news. And I'm just going like, just tell me on the phone. So then I had to drive 2.5 hours to go there. And then it's like, hey, I wanted to make sure this is – there's nothing wrong with what John Doyle did, okay? And that's the right – in person is fine. But me and my personality and how I am, I'm just like, I just save the 2.5 hours. Because now look at me. I'm complaining about that 2.5 hours that I lost, I don't know, 11 years ago. But drove – yeah, we've traded you. You're going to Colorado. Their team admin will call you in the next couple hours and then let you know because I think they want you to fly out there tomorrow. And that's it because your centralized contract, single entity. Your contract is with the MLS, the league. So you're just contracted out to the team that you're with. So as soon as you're traded to another team, it's not a would you like to go or what are your thoughts or kind of what are you thinking about it. It's like, oh, we already sent you and traded you and your family and if you have it and all that kind of stuff, we'll figure that out. We don't care if you only have 3 months left in your contract and there's no guarantee that you have a next one. Go to the other city, move in, or don't, and we'll take all your money and make you look bad in the press because you're selfish or what. You get what I'm saying? So like, yeah, that's what it is. And yeah, and that's what it is for individuals like myself. I can't speak to, I'm sure other guys who are making a couple $1 million a year, they might have a bit of a heads up or maybe not. You'll have to talk to them and ask. But in my experience, having been traded several times, up until my most recent to Montreal, I was not involved in the process. Right? It's just you get a phone call, cool. Admin calls you, says coach wants you in tomorrow, and you either say like, well, I can fly out tomorrow, or it's like, we'll fly out tomorrow, be here for a week for training, we'll fly you back, and then you can start arranging your stuff and figuring that stuff out. So that's the initial stage of trade, how that kind of looks as of right now. Hopefully stories like this will get that changed, right? Yeah. But I wouldn't hold my breath.
To continue on to this, your journey in Colorado, Quincy, you're an MLS Cup champion.
Yep.
So you're sitting in a Zoom call right now with 2 Red Bull fans who have had great regular season success and not so much playoff success. What's it like to lift an MLS Cup, and what is the locker room like? And what is it going into practice every day with a side that maybe doesn't know they're going to win MLS Cup, but has won an MLS Cup? What is a training session like with a championship team?
Okay, so then this is good. We can get into this. So at the time, you don't know it's a championship team, but looking back, I could go, okay, this is why it was a championship team, right? And these are the elements that are required to be a championship team. And the reason why our team won a championship was because every single day, the young guys wanted to beat the old guys. And Gary Smith loved his old guys. Loved the veterans, right? Loved them. Team veteran was Gary, right? But we had a great group of young guys who came in and competed every single day. And I'm sure you guys could imagine me at 21 years old, fighting for a spot and an opportunity. I'm more than happy to share my opinion of if I think you suck, right? And I think I should be playing because I'm whooping your ass every single day out here and we're banging goals. Like, I don't know why we don't play on the weekend. That does not make the older guys who the hell do you think you are? Rookie, young guy, you know what I mean? You haven't done anything. You haven't been in here. And I go, yeah, I haven't done anything. I haven't been anywhere, but I'm beating you every single day in training. So, like, what is your other stuff? I don't care. I've played here. I've done, well, I don't know any of those things. I've never watched soccer on TV, so I don't care. What do I care? Right? I want to play and I want to win. And that's that was the mentality of our young group, right? Ross LeBeau, Andre Akpan, Joseph Nane, Stuart Seuss. Oh man, we had so many great players, and we had what was great about that was every single day it was a competition, talking mad trash, nonstop, right? Fighting to win, train. We wanted to. I'll speak for myself. I wanted to win more in training than I didn't care about the weekend, and that's what a championship team is. If you care more to win your practice on the game day, the weekend you're gonna win. The weekend you're going to win. But most guys don't view it that way. And it's very hard to build the culture to make that happen. Right? And that's why, because we had the older veteran guys who wanted to win, even to beat us young guys, to shut us up, right? And then for me on the weekends, it was just like everyone hated us because they hated how we played, which is a huge advantage. If you hate how a team plays, why would they play different? It's boring. You're just defense. All you do is that. And I go, yeah, we've got Connor Casey and Omar Cummings. These dudes are going to score a goal. They're going to. So if all we got to do is just prevent you guys from scoring a goal, yeah, everyone hates it. It sucks. The game's super boring. They don't like it. I think we talk about other stuff about how Colorado eventually gets rid of an MLS Cup championship coach and kind of breaks up a team, and it's because people didn't like how we won, because it wasn't pretty, it wasn't goals, it was just annoying, and I'm okay with, you know what I'm saying? There's a reason I got a nom in your head. This is my brand. You know what I'm saying? Like there's value in that, consistency. And I know I'm going over the place because it's making me think of the good times. I really, really love that team. I love that group. I love all those guys. When we literally want to kill each other on the field, the moment practice was over, we were all at each other's houses. We were at Kosuke's house and Omar barbecuing over in Arrow Flats. Shout out Arrow Flats. Anthony Wallace. Oh man, Pablo Mastroni, Jeff Lewenowitz, Drew Moore, Scott Palguda, Brian Mullen, Tyrone Marshall, Eddie Ababio, Davey Armstrong, Josh Janiri. Best freestyle rapper I've ever met in person. So you guys I was trying to figure out where he's at nowadays. I'd said, right, Joseph Nane, Andre Akpan, Ross LeBeau. Like, all of us, we were all hanging out all the time. Guys were coming over to our house. We were going over to their house. It was a brotherhood. We loved it. And even though most of the young guys never got to play because Gary didn't – you don't got any experience, mate. You don't have enough experience. It's like, Gary, bro, if you never play us, we'll never have experience, bro. What am I supposed to do? Okay? Like, I know you're annoyed with me and you're angry that I'm difficult, but you're telling me I need experience, bro. I'm fighting for experience. You're not giving it to me. What do you want me to do? All I can do is work my ass off at training every single day and try to win. And that's all I can do. And if I win, I don't know why I'm not playing on the weekend. Doesn't make sense to me, bro. 21, 22. I don't get it. You can't – your answer is experience, mate. You don't got experience. I said, okay, well, I got to go get some experience, man. But here I am now. I got a lot of it, And I figured it out. And I know why I was pissing a lot of people off when I was younger, but I think that's a big reason why I express to the younger generation and other people, I say, listen, if you're not willing to fight for yourself, if you're not willing to promote yourself, who's going to promote you more than you? Who's going to fight for you more than you? And if you think someone else is going to fight more for you, then that's your problem. It's not always going to look pretty. Not everybody's going to love what you're doing. They're not going to love how it looks. They're not going to want it to be you. But what are you going to do?
Yeah.
You're going to let them tell you no and give up? Well, okay. But know that that's your choice. That's what you're deciding to do. And my mentality is why I've been able to get here. And I've seen a lot of success. I've seen a lot of failure along the way. And that experience has been invaluable for me. And I believe I have a very good grasp of what it takes to have a championship team and what it looks like. And, not everybody has that, which is why it could be difficult to know it when you see it. But then that's why we're trying to get that high level communication so everybody can see it early. And then we're all tapped into that MSL wave. You know what I mean? So we can make the World Cup here, guys. Win.
Yeah.
That's what we need to do.
So we had a fan question asking which team has a special place in your heart and why. Would you say Colorado has the one of the more special places in your heart, or is there a team you are on that maybe goes above it?
Okay, I'd say every team has a special place in my heart for some particular reason, and sometimes it's good and sometimes it's bad, right? Or there's a good reason and a bad reason for every single place.
Right.
I would say overall, yes, Colorado, because what that group was, those guys, most of those guys were at my wedding, right? Were groomsmen at my wedding. So great bond with those guys. And that experience overall, just all of us stayed in Colorado longer than we ever should have for our career sake because we enjoyed each other so much. Many of us probably didn't make it as long as we otherwise should have because we spent too much time in Colorado. Yeah, from a career perspective, looking back, like we were having too much fun. And we loved each other and it was just great. And if you're talking about strategic moves for a career in soccer, we didn't make the best strategic moves for career, but we made great memories and experiences for like post-career. So I'd say yes, special place in my heart with the guys for that, but guys at every single team for different reasons. So, if we went through each team, I could tell you specific, because then I think about, I had that same experience in Chicago with Mike McGee and Sean Johnson, you know what I'm saying? And Ross is from Chicago, right? That's where he was born and raised. So he was in Chicago during that time. And it was like Colorado again with him there, and Quincy time when we're doing the episodes in the show, that's where that all kicked off. So yeah, but then terrible experiences in Chicago as well too, that like teach you like what the life really is and who people actually are. So it's just like, you know what I mean? It's just, I love every experience. I find something that I love about it, and I definitely find some things I absolutely hate about it and are horrible. And those are the things that help me make the MSL mentality and mindset stronger, makes the company better, improves my communication skills. Hopefully better helps me share with some type of more clarity, as opposed to being so, because I can get very, very big picture. I can get very, very, down the road in multiple directions. And I've very much understood that not everybody understands that communication style. Not everybody resonates with it. So figuring a way to bridge the gap in that. So does that answer your question about Colorado at least? Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So you mentioned that Chicago team. So after, bouncing around after you left Colorado, you briefly started training with the Red Bulls. You go to Toronto, end up in Chicago, all in the space of like a year and a half.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can we go through that?
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. It's like, what, you want me to break down?
No.
That transition happened? Okay.
No. So once you ended in Chicago, arguably, to that point, at least, your best showing, 11 goals, 60 games. What do you think finally got you the experience to step on the field.
Experience, mate. Experience. If Gary ends up watching this, experience, mate. When are you going to call me into Nashville, bro? Let's do it. Kosuke's there. Yo, shout out Kosuke. Underappreciated. These guys need to give this man way more money wherever he's at. If anyone wants to snipe amazing talent, go get Kosuke Kimura ASAP. I don't care which organization you're at. Love that dude. High level, this man, but he's still mentally super weak. Make sure he hears that. With that whole endorsement of him, make sure you clip it and let him know, say, Kosuke's still mentally super weak, bro.
We will.
Okay. So make sure he gets that endorsement, because it's true. Any organization would be great to have him, and you're snapping up amazing talent with him. But if you don't, I will. So it doesn't matter. When the team gets big enough, Kosuke, calling you, bro. I just went down that rabbit hole because I was juiced about that. I forgot even what we were talking about. What was the question?
What made Chicago different in terms of now you're getting the solid game time?
Okay, gotcha. I was like, wait, yo. Okay, so a couple of things. Whew, okay. So by the time I get to Colorado, I understand that I'm a good player. I'm a very good player, and I know I'm a good player because I went to Thailand because I questioned myself. I'm like, am I crap? Am I actually like a crap player, and I just think that I'm good? I don't know. So I had a trial in Thailand. I went over to Thailand and I played, and I went like, nah, I'm high level. I'm sick at this game. You know what I mean? I was like, nah, I'm good. So when I came back, I was like, all right, I'm going to give another go with my contract here in MLS. And I understand what I didn't know the first contract and what was going on. I understand why I didn't get play time and why that didn't work out. My problem with my first contract was I approached the game like college, where I believed what the coach was telling me, and I thought if you play for the team, then you'll be rewarded. At the professional level, that is not true. That is not true. You need stats. And if you don't have stats, you won't get paid. And it doesn't mean that that's fair or that's right or that's the best way to go about it. That's how it works. So if you don't understand that, your chances that you make it exponentially less, right? So now that you understand that, you have to play in order to get stats, right? So then that's your next issue and problem. Well, how do you get in there? Well, a lot of it comes down to your network, who you know, who knows you, and who will vouch for you. That's another problem, right? So if you don't have that network, the likelihood that you get a chance to break in is very low. Perfect example of that is I could say Chris Wondolowski was in the league for 5-6 years before, by happenstance, the three strikers who were starting in front of him. I got traded that year. I got traded to San Jose. The other two strikers in front of him at that time, I think Pablo was one, and then I think not Cordell. I'm gonna get caught up in that. Doesn't matter. Those guys got injured or hurt and they were out. And then Wando all of a sudden gets a chance to start. Then he scores. Then it's starting for 5 games and 5 goals. And once you get that, now it's kind of hard to take you out. It turns into a golden boot year, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like 18 goals first time, right? And then everyone thinks that's a fluke and lucky. So you're at least gonna start again the next year when you score 18 the time before. Boom, 27 goals. Everyone's still, I don't know, that's a super fluke. But following year, golden boot tied, I think, with Camilo or something, 16 goals. My point is saying, you think Wando couldn't have been scoring goals before then? He's banging goals in the reserve league. We were banging goals in the reserve league, having fun, right? But you're just waiting for your opportunity, and it might come, it might not. And Wando's came, capitalized on it, boom, transitioned. It turned into a prolific goal-scoring career. But is he paid anywhere near as much as he should have been over the course of his year for what he's done? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. But his production's been through the roof. So I'm not going to go totally down that rabbit hole because I could go on that for time. But my main point is saying, okay, I get to Chicago, right? I get to Chicago. The first year, I'm playing the best soccer in my career. Like, even if I'm looking back and I'm thinking about, like, I was balling out. Shout out Sergio McDonald, because that was the time that he was there. And he was a very high-level player. But that could be a whole nother issue that we're talking about on other stuff. But we had great chemistry. We train every day. He was like my best friend that year at Chicago. And I learned a lot from him in the game in general. And I think in that year, I played only like 299 minutes, but I had 4 goals, right? But was getting no opportunities and wasn't playing because at that time I was focused, okay, you just need goals. That's how you get your chance. 4 goals in 299 minute. No, you say, okay, so no, that's not working. What is it that you're needing to do? And eventually what I realized there's nothing I could do at that time. I just had to buy my time. And then Klopas got fired and Frank Yallop got hired. And when Frank Yallop was coming in, I looked at the players that we had at that time and I knew what Frank's system was and what he needed and how he liked to play. And I was looking and I go, he doesn't have what he needs in the guys here. So I'll actually get an opportunity. So once I saw that my opportunity was actually coming, that's when I was like, all right, I'm going to take full advantage of this in terms of like, I think that this is my chance. That's when I shout out Eunice Kim, Jeff Crandall, Leo Flores. That's the original Quincy Time squad. I called them in and I said, hey, I've got an idea for an episode, for a show. I want to do a YouTube series. This is what I want to do. I know I'm a no name. I know no one knows about me. No one cares. But I said, I'm going to do what I need to do to get on the field. I know I'm going to make it. And this is what I want to do. And they were like, I shout them out because they took a chance. They're like, all right, whatever, let's do it. That year was the one year that I had consistent minutes and played the whole time. And to your point, 8 goals, 6 assists, 5 penalties drawn that resulted in all goals. And I think like 103 fouls suffered in the attacking third of the field, which is huge when it comes to set pieces and goals scored from set pieces, right? I think second most fouled in the league behind Nagby. And that was the one year that I actually got a full backing and play behind me. And you would think, and this is the part that I want to make sure I share with the younger guys, you would think that means you're going to be the starter the next year, and it means that you're going to have an opportunity to grow. But this is what I'm telling you, how it'll be looked at with you, at least in my experience, is, well, look at how well we did with him. Imagine what it'll be like when we get someone who's actually good or better, right? And that's when they're looking for your replacement, right? And I think they ended up signing David Akam, Kennedy Iboanike, Uli DePardo, and then Sean Maloney. So they wouldn't spend a bunch of money on international guys. And then I ended up not starting the following year, right? So when you're talking about experience, I've got a lot of it and a lot of different ones where you think you get to the end, you're like, oh, I'm making it. This is it. This is good. No. If you think you make it, check your shoulder. That's what I say. Check your shoulder because you probably didn't. I know we're talking about a lot of things and I'm sharing a bunch of stuff, but okay. But my goal, my point, hopefully, was sharing that with everybody is it's not always glory all the way there, right? And it's not always what you think is going to be necessary to get there. And it's not going to be fair. And it's not going to fall your way all the time, right? But the thing that you can control is how you assess, adapt from it, and move forward, right? So that was my only opportunity and chance. I'd lost my starting spot because I didn't start come the beginning of the year, not because I had the most goals in preseason, but I still wasn't the starting guy, because I wasn't making enough money. So that's when I learned, if you're not making enough money, you don't have a large enough contract. It doesn't matter how good you do. It doesn't matter how good you do because they have you under contract with the league at the time. And I still had one more option year on my contract, but it auto-triggered to guarantee. So that didn't matter. But the main thing was they already knew how much they had to pay me the following year. So it makes sense, business sense. And this ties to the beginning of our conversation where I said, it's a business. They're making business decisions. From a business perspective, they say, we got Quincy locked up on a $80,000 contract next year. He's our leading goal scorer, most points, all that stuff, right? We don't have to give him any more money. Let's go use the money we have and go and get international talent and other people, because at the end of the day, if they don't work out, we still have him under contract. And what's he going to do? Leave, lock, fight to lock out, or that's what they're looking at. It's business, right? He doesn't have enough money to lock out and do all that stuff. That's, you know what I mean? And reward players for doing well and to invest in them. Come on, that's crazy talk. That would be the smart thing to do. But okay, we won't go down that road. My main point, which is multiple points that I'm making here, is okay, the season starts, I'm not starting, doesn't matter. Because money is important. That's the thing. So, okay, you learn that. You understand that. Halfway through the season, now there's an opportunity for me to get traded back to San Jose. So it's funny. So Frank Yallop drafted me with San Jose, traded me to Colorado, acquired me at Chicago, and then traded me back to the team that he drafted me at, but with Dominic Kinnear, right? And that's coming to the end of my contract, right? So when you think about it from a business sense and business perspective, San Jose is struggling during the year, right? They're trying to make a last surge to get to the playoffs. They don't have much of a budget or any money, and they don't want to make a long-term commitment. And they need a fighter. They need someone who's going to work hard, and then they know what they're going to get in consistency. So at that point, it's basically saying like, all right, well, we can get Quincy from Chicago and trade for him here. It's a non-risk on our side, right? If he does terrible, his contract's up at the end of the year, leave. If he does great, great. We don't pay any more money. It's all locked up. So I'm breaking it down because I'm just wanting to share like the multiple angles in which people are looking at it. Business-wise, it's not always about how you perform and what you do or how good you are. And that's what I think most players get caught up on, and people. So I come back over with San Jose, but then there's 17 games left. I have 17 games, 17 starts, 6 goals, 4 assists, and I think like 3 penalties drawn that result in goals while I'm there in that short duration of time, right? And then in that time over that year, I'm learning contract negotiation, law. You end up doing a bunch of research and a bunch of things, and then you're negotiating I'm negotiating my next contract. So my Chicago experience was positive in many ways, is negative in many other ways, right? But I learned many things from that experience that helped me in my next stage. But every single time you keep going, you learn something that you didn't know when you're starting out, and because of that, that's your downfall. And you just keep redoing that process. And that is what it looks like when you're starting from the bottom and you're trying to work your way to the top. And now that, you get to the top, now it's okay. How can you share the message and communicate back down to the guys who are at the bottom, guys and girls at the bottom, so that they can maybe not waste 6 years figuring it out. Maybe I can say, hey, here's the blueprint. Here's 6 months, but it's still a lot of work to do. I know I'm going. This is what I'm saying. These are great questions. You guys are asking good questions, and I appreciate what you guys are doing and what's going on. So I just want to. Hey, here you go. I don't know.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, here it is.
Hell yeah.
All right, so obviously at this point in your career, as we said, experience, good amount of experience now.
Yeah.
Let's narrow it down to this one moment of experience. If you can remember it, It was your goal against Portland in 2016.
Yep.
Where it was just a banger from like way out past the box. If you do remember it, can you tell us a little bit about it? What was going through your head?
Okay, well, if you want me to break it down. Okay, so yeah, I do remember it. I think one thing that I learned early on is you want to do your best plays when it's on ESPN and there's people watching. So you eventually learn how to do that, which is if we want to have like a mastermind series where we talk about how to manifest scenarios, that'll be a good follow-up one. But that's why I say everyone, let them know it's a conspiracy. This is all, you know what I mean? How's this all coming together? It's like, I don't know. It's weird, right? It must be in your head or something, MSL. Yeah, so on that play, okay, so where I back up, Dominic Kinnear at that point was not happy with me in that game. I think he was mad at me about something on the field, but I was just frustrated because I was like, leave me alone. You know what I mean? Like I'm not happy with what I did as well either, but I'm going to make up for it. Right. But I'd also remember, like, I didn't say, my response and demeanor to him was not taken well by him. And I could tell, like, oh, okay, he's not happy with how I responded in that moment, but I had like an emotional outburst. Right. And, I think in that moment I was like, okay, I better do something. I got to make up for that. Cause that's not good. Cause that's definitely a, like, I'm going to go tell someone to warm up type thing. Like, I'm taking you out, for that. And then I see the ball bouncing with Nagby, and I go and I come underneath him and I I win the ball off of him, and then I take the touch out. I have a look up. And then I'm starting to realize, okay, I took this – how do you describe it? I don't know if you guys have ever been in the zone, but where everything kind of comes into synchronicity. So everything's going really slow, and your processing speed goes really high, right? So your processing speed goes real high, so then relative to everyone around you, everything goes kind of slow. And with each sequence in the play, I'm taking a touch, but it's coming perfectly. I'm touching it. It feels like in sync. Like this ball, if I go, this ball's going to go 10 feet, 3 inches, and 2 centimeters. Boom, right? So like once that happens, I get locked in and I go, okay, I'm in that flow state. So take your time. And I'm looking and I'm seeing, okay, Char is always going to recover because this dude is a monster. Shout out most underrated defensive midfielder in MLS history.
Thank you.
Okay.
We'll go into that at another time.
Okay, we will need to discuss because it's ridiculous the amount of praise this man has not received.
You're telling me.
So I know he's going to recover and he's coming back, right? Borchers is back, kind of recovering, and then Quincy, right, is the goalkeeper at that time. I can see that he's kind of out of position and off of his line. I recognize that I have to take the ball away at an angle because it creates more of a distance for Char to have to recover. So by the time I take my second touch and I put my touch far enough out, I go, ooh, I touched that perfect, right? Like that's exactly where I want it to be. Almost think of it like golf at this point in time. Okay. So you guys help me really break this down. So it's almost like reading the lie of the grass. There's certain moments where you can get zoomed in like that, where it's literally like that, especially with the elite guys. They're tapping into that way more frequently. So it's learning how to tap into that. So now once you hit that out there, you've now bought yourself enough time to really assess what's happening. And that's when I have a look up and I go, okay, Quincy is really out of position with where he's at. Borchers is moving in a way where he knows he can't get to it. But I'm also at a point where if I take my next touch, I have like a no-angle shot along the side. By the time I approach this, I'm going to be able to chip it back on the far post. And I'm going like, I won the ball in our defensive half of the field. I've taken the touch out here, and I know I'm by myself up top. So this is the time where you get to do this, and no one can get mad at you for trying it. And those opportunities don't happen too often. But when they do, those are the ones that I love the most because that's where I get to play. That's my game. That's what I like. I like, bicycle kicks and scissor kicks and, you know what I mean, scorpion kicks and chips and all that stuff. Shout out Claudio Lopez because the chip's always on. Love that dude. Colorado. I think he's more of a Kansas City legend, right? But I love that guy in Colorado. We came up with the bottle. Celebration. That's an ode to Claudio Lopez. If you guys look at that goal with Colorado, that's the story behind that. But okay, chips always on. So rule number 1, if there's anything, chips always on. Okay, chips always on. Chips always good. And that's when I hit it. And right when I hit it, I went, ooh, perfect. I'm going like that is in 100%. I'm thinking I'm gonna be super pissed if the goalkeeper gets a fingertip to it and kind of like smacks and it hits the bar and bounces off. And luckily he doesn't. And I'm like, oh yes, perfect. And so I remember that sequence of play and how it broke down and what I was thinking at the time. And then the next game we played Portland, I chipped him again, but it hit the crossbar and didn't go in. So you get a good, if you can pull up that clip. Caught him off his line again. But yeah, that was a good play. It's interesting to hear, I guess, what fans and people resonate with most, like what they remember most versus what like you remember most, right? Like the goal I think I remember and I like most if I'm thinking about it. There's a couple. So one is in a reserve match. I dribbled off kickoff and scored against, I want to say it was FC Dallas, I think, or something like that when I was with Chicago. So I'm thinking of goals that I scored in like reserve league. I'm like, yo, that goal is dope. Yeah, you guys like that one, but you should have been at the reserve matches. There's a bunch of dope goals happening out there. Yeah, man, you guys are making me think about a bunch of stuff, and I'm probably sharing way too much, but whatever. Who cares? Like, what's it matter?
That's right. That's right. No, it's that was our most asked fan question, was what was going through your mind when that happened.
Well, yeah, well, all of that, and then I think tying it together was basically looked at Dom. See, I'm still thinking Dom. Can you hear Dom afterwards? And it was basically like, all right, well,
Yeah.
that shut me up. And I was
Yeah.
like,
Well,
what do you want me to do, bro? Like, hey, so he didn't sub me out, which was great, So positive.
nice. So I now would like to, if you are ready, to transition into perfect soccer. And I just wanted to kind of let you, for the people who are watching and don't know about it, what is it and why did you start it? Where did it come from?
Again, you guys, there's a bunch of loaded questions, okay? So it's evolved quite a bit, right, over time. But the best way to think of perfect soccer, it's a place to talk to, learn from, and work with pro soccer players, right? Simple as that. We provide anything and everything you could need or want in the soccer space, and even the things that you don't know that you need, like mental strength training, right? The main thing is we've built an entirely new industry that people haven't ever seen before, so it just takes time for them to learn the MSL. And as they learn the MSL and the Amarikwa process, the real goal and understanding is that we're here to over-deliver value, leave every exchange having given more than we received. We only talk from our perspective, sharing our personal experiences, and the Amarikwa process, our 7-step process, 3 S's of self-awareness, self-honesty, self-initiative, self-accountability. That is the culture, that's the idea, that's the philosophy, that's the mentality that we use to build our content, create our products, and share with the audience at large, right? The brand really is whatever is necessary or needed to share the voice and the perspectives and the ideas and thoughts of those who typically don't have the platform to do so, right? And like with you guys starting out, you know what I mean? I love seeing what you're doing. I love the grind. I love the hustle. And I think we were talking maybe pre-call. One of the things that you guys had one view. And I go, hey, one view is better than none. And if you've got one view and you're doing it, I want to do what I can to help and share and learn, because I think I'll learn just as much from you guys as hopefully you're able to learn from me. And I don't know. That's how I've been approaching it. So Perfect Soccer is the brand and the vehicle that I've invested all of my experiences into. So now that I'm really thinking about it, let me like really bringing it down, because it's like, well, how does that help once you do everything? We do everything. And that was my problem in the past. I was just doing too much, right? From most people's perspective. But doing too much is how I gained all that experience, because I realized that that's what I was in need of. But once I got all this experience, I went, a big reason why it was so hard for me was because people weren't sharing these experiences with me. They weren't being honest and true or truthful with me. And I had to figure out the hard way. And there's a bunch of players who would have the potential to be way better than me, right? Way, way better than me. But they're not going to get the opportunity to play because they don't have access to someone who's sharing with them the truth or giving them the experience or the insight. So I needed a brand that I could focus all of my experiences into and hopefully create revenue so I could continue to hire people on the team to continue to do our podcasts and our blogs and our newsletter and our soccer training equipment and, our training center and our books and our resources. A lot of the things that we give and share, I figure out how to create a path so there's a free option for everything within our brand and organization. That's not the best when it comes to profitability, and sometimes you need that, or most times you need that to keep paying people to do stuff. But as soon as I figure it out, I just share it for free, because I wish people did that with me when I started out. So, kind of be who you wish. Be who you wish you had when you were starting out. And that's what Perfect Soccer is right now, man.
Yeah. Love that. I really do. You mentioned mental strength coach, and I know a lot of players, myself included, Adam included, have gone through either a long-term injury or a situation where they weren't the first guy on the team sheet and they had to work their way through it. How important was mental strength to you in your career? Did you have a coach who like specialized in this, or just how important was mental strength to you to get from, we talked about you coming from the bottom to here, but how important was that for you?
Those are the most important. So for as much as Quincy can go down a million scenarios and ways in which to think about and go about it, that was born from the need to develop a mentality that is okay with things not going your way and adapting and coming up with a plan or a strategy that accounts for that. And that comes down to mentality, right? And that has been the centralized focus of my career, in the sense that I went, okay, to stick around for a long time, you need to be known for something and you have to differentiate yourself from your competition. I'm an athletic guy, right? I'm athletic, right? Which is a strength. But when I'm first coming into the pro game as well too, I go like, okay, lots of guys are athletic. And I'm looking at the older guys who were athletic and I go, okay, they're not playing past 29, 30, 31, 30, or they're really hurting and struggling. And I'm going like, all right, well, I've got to trade in and trade up, which means in the short term, I'm going to look bad because I'm trying to learn the tactical side of the game, the soccer IQ side of the game, the technical side of the game. And that's a part of my game that I wasn't focused on or developing from a young age. So I'm very far behind my competition. What I had to learn how to do was utilize my athleticism when necessary, and then utilize the space and time that I was creating for myself to try new things, to learn the technical aspect of the game, right? And that process took a long time because there's a lot to learn. And, when you don't have the network and you don't have the people, when you make a mistake, it can be catastrophic. You're starting all the way back at zero. And you have to have a strong mentality to always be knocked back down to zero and know that you have to go 100 steps just to get to 101. And you knew how hard it was to get to 100. And that makes it even more difficult because you're going like, I know what I have to do to even have a chance to be able to do something. So when you start thinking about it or looking at it that way, mental strength and mentality is the only thing that matters most in that process. And if you don't believe that or you don't understand that, you might win athletically, you might win at talent for a little while, but eventually you'll be caught and passed. And that was the risk that I took in the way that I thought about it early on, because mentality was not something that people thought about, is not something that people were focusing on. That's something that I felt, I was like, you know what? No one's doing this. No one looks at it that way. That's what I'm going to be known for. That's what I'm creating. That's what I'm developing. And I want to develop it in a manner that is open source so everybody learns how to do it. So everybody has access. So it's not I'm someone who has an accent and came to this country 20 years ago and created a soccer club. Didn't really understand soccer at all, but because I had an accent, Americans are paying me hella money to build the club. Now I'm 20 years into it. I've got hundreds, thousands of kids within my organization and club, and it's not open source. Why would it be? I don't want competition. I don't want people to learn my model. I don't want that. So I think that's the reason why our U.S. national team is starting to really struggle horribly, because people are too focused on money and have been for too long, that I'm going, okay, open source this knowledge and information. If all these kids who don't have access to these academies, don't have access to these coaches, don't have access to these facilities, can on their own work in their house and get to a level where they can show up to a tryout maybe one day and whoop the kid's butt who's been working with the coaches and the academies for the last several years. We're going to continue to ignore that. You're going to continue to deny talent and an opportunity to do well. And I think with how things have been working and going on for so long, I think people are saying I don't think people are down for that anymore. I think to me, people have woken up, especially with this quarantine. They've had enough time to kind of self-reflect and go like, why were we doing that? And what are better ways to be more efficient? So Yep, I'll cut myself off because if you guys don't, you know what I mean? If you guys don't cut me off, man, I can keep going, man.
Yeah, so I couldn't cut you off. I don't know if you were seeing my video here, but everything you said regarding mental strength, I'm just nodding along to because I'm sitting back. Like I mentioned, I went through an injury where I got shoulder dislocated, surgery, 14 months of rehab. The very first session, my other shoulder dislocates. So I'm going through the whole thing you're talking about working your way up, taking 100 steps to get to 101, and then having to go back and do it again. And it just, I couldn't cut you off because I'm sitting here. I'm remembering everything you just said was exactly what I was trying to tell myself, and exactly what I tried to tell the guys that I played with my last year. Was the same exact thing. Was you're not getting anything handed to you. You got to work from the ground up. You got to do all this stuff, and it was good to hear it from another person instead of just my own mind.
I got you. I hear you. And I think that was the thing that it took me a while to understand and realize, like before, especially. But most people go like, "Quincy, we don't want to hear it. We don't hear you anymore." I'm like, "All right, well, I'm just talking to myself." That's what I'm really doing.
You could go all day about that stuff, and I will never stop you because it's so true. It is the biggest. It's the biggest part about anything you do, not just in soccer, but in life. Right? You need to be able to get through the difficult times. You need to be able to get through the stuff that is uncomfortable and work hard to get to where you want to go. And, like I said, everything about it was spot on, perfect.
I love that. If you buy the mental strength training, I'm selling it, man. Let's go.
It's all there.
But it's to your point. Yes. Like I think a lot of us watch movies where everything always ends on like and then we ride off into the sunset and everything's great and I worked really hard and then I got the opportunity and they gave me the promotion. Like that's what we see in the movies and on TV, but in real life it's usually not how it goes. Right? So I think the more honest we can be about the process, the more likely we are to like create an outcome that we're really happy with, or more importantly, we can accept or parlay or use that experience to progress everything forward. So no, I love hearing that as well too, man, because I think everyone has their own difficulties that they're going through, and just like soccer, it's all subjective, and it's relative. And if we go down the track of like, I suffered more than you because my injury was this and yours was that, and you had money and I did, then I'm going like, again, subjective. Let's just know you suffer, I suffer. That's common. That's what we have in common. Okay, can we help each other suffer less? Then I think that's the best place to start.
Right.
So now we're gonna move on to still with the mental strength stuff, but a little fun game for you. So this is an idea I stole off another podcast that I listened to called Chasing Excellence. Highly recommend. But they focus a lot on the mental stuff. It's mainly a CrossFit podcast, but they do something called the 2-minute drill. Okay. So the two hosts will present a topic, and they have 2 minutes to basically summarize, talk about whatever it is. So the plan was I'll give you 3 practices of mental strength, stoicism. I took, bits and pieces of everything, and you have 2 minutes to just express your feelings, which based off the way this episode's been going, 2 minutes is going to be a little tough.
Okay, let me cut. So you're saying, okay, Quincy, you've got a 2-minute time limit.
Yes. It's not a hard timer, but as close as we can.
I got you.
Okay.
I'll start to reel it in now as well too, because we're
so the first one, ready? Be tolerant with others and strict with yourself.
Yes. So what about it?
So what it means to you, how, what are your thoughts on it?
Oh, okay. Got you. So tolerant of others and strict with yourself?
Yep. Strict with yourself.
I would say tolerant with others and tolerant with yourself.
Okay.
Yeah. Because I don't think people give themselves enough credit for the work that they're doing, because I think everyone tells you to be humble. That's stupid, in my opinion. It's not bragging if it's true. If you don't like what the person is saying because it makes you feel bad, then question why it makes you feel bad. What are you insecure about? And what are you doing to improve yourself so that someone talking about something they're proud of or they're happy with or they're excited about makes you feel less than. So I don't think people have they're not tolerant of themselves, which is why they're not tolerant of others. Because most people have something about themselves that they're not happy with.
Mm-hmm.
And rather than address and fix and work on that, they'll find problems with everyone else that they can spend their time to focus on and work on, because that's something that they can point to as proof as to they're a good person. So a lot of people are using others and other things that they're doing as validation for them being good or tolerant or humble or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
When I think if you're focused on developing of yourself and understanding yourself and what your limitations are and why they've gotten to that point in time, you'll be confident enough in yourself to be okay with the fact that not everyone's going to like you all the time and not everyone's going to be happy with you. And that evokes tolerance in others because you're also tolerant of your own limitations. So that's what I think of that.
Okay. Well, that was actually perfectly 2 minutes. So well done. Next one. Motivation is temporary. Discipline is permanent.
Motivation is temporary and discipline is temporary.
Okay.
Motivation can kickstart discipline. Motivation can kickstart the practice of discipline, but that's what discipline is. It's a practice, right? So if you stop practicing, you're no longer disciplined. You no longer have discipline, right? But just because you're practicing doesn't mean you're disciplined in an area that will better you in the future. I'm super disciplined. I smoke 2 packs of cigarettes a day. Okay, great. You're committed. You're showing commitment. You're showing dedication. You're showing loyalty. You're developing a habit and you're disciplined in what you're doing. But would someone say that is a positive, right? So I think a lot of the things that I think about when I'm talking, especially on the mentality side of things, it's really taking that subjective ideology and applying it to everything, which allows, in my mind, me the ability to be forgiving of myself, but also have very high expectations of myself as well too. And discipline can be good and bad. So it's really and good and bad for who and for how long and when. And I think context is the thing that is lacking most in conversations and the way in which we move. And I think that's what's most important in terms of discipline, being disciplined in the context that you require before making decisions.
Last one. Practice negative visualization.
Yeah. Because then that's coming up with, so the way in which I guess the MSM mentality really focuses is saying, hey, let's plan for the worst possible scenario that we can come up with, and then come up with a strategy that accounts for it,
mm-hmm.
so that we can not be scared into being indecisive or taking action. So if we can think up of all of the terrible things that can happen as a result of the potential action that we're going to take, and then we can come up with a strategy or solution that helps us avoid that or survive it, then the question becomes, why are we not taking an action step to move forward? And then that allows you to at least assess what's the insecurity or limited self-belief that I have that I need to work on to be able to take action or move forward, or what foundational pieces do I need to put in place to be able to make this action to move forward.
All right.
So yeah, that one's a good one.
Perfect.
Awesome. I like that. I like the 2-minute drill because it makes you really just think whatever you're saying, think about it. You have to vocalize, and then you kind of hear yourself say it and you think about it. I like that. I like that a lot.
Oh, that's a good one, because that's something that I probably need more help with in terms of dialing stuff in. Because I'm like, all right, yeah. Well, if we're over here riding the wave, we can talk forever. Let's go.
Mm-hmm.
But that's good. That's a good segment. I like that.
I like that a lot. So to move into our last little subsection here, the BPC, the MLS movement that's going on right now. For anybody who's been living under a rock, really, how did this get started? Not in terms of what happened in the world, but whose idea was it? Like, who brought it up first, and how well was it really received by the MLS community? Was there anybody who was like, maybe we shouldn't do this, or was everybody completely on board?
there's everybody who isn't on board or is questioning it and stuff, or people vocalizing it. I don't think as much as they would have in the past, considering the state of the world. I think where it started was Justin Morrow had started a group text because he's saying he wanted to protest in Orlando. So it really just started out as an idea of protest, and then I was brought into the group to organize the group, and came up with the idea of how we could go about creating a structure for the organization so we could actually implement policy change and everything that comes along with needing to continue the conversation beyond just the protest, right? So over the last several weeks, I don't know how many weeks we're into it now, like 6 or 7 weeks now, that's been my main focus. That's what I've been working on, is the organizational structure and negotiating partnerships and deals. And I think we, as a group, finalized. So I'm saying Earl was the head of the MLSPA negotiations. I'm the head of the player coalition negotiations that we just had, and now we're focused on the potential partnership that we can come to here with the MLS here moving forward. So there's been a lot of conversations we're having. There's a lot of moving parts, and I think there's been a lot of attention that's been coming as a result of the protest, as well as the organization announcement, our partnerships, and the mission and goals that we've set for ourselves with the organization. But the feedback as up to this point in time has been extremely encouraging, has been very positive. It's been very encouraging, it's been very positive, and I think this is a great opportunity to capture this energy and really put it into policy reform, right? Really changing the way in which soccer in America is run for the better, more inclusive, as well as the issues that we definitely want to attack here at large as an organization. So that's kind of how it started in terms of from the organizational perspective, like how we came together, how we're organized and how we're operating here moving forward. I think as time goes on as well too, there will be more shared with regard to like what our mission is, what our overall goal is, kind of what the policies we're wanting to implement or initiate specifically in the coming weeks, hopefully here soon.
All right. So,
all right, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, when MLS put the article out, right, it was over 70 players have joined at the point of when it was released. Has it grown? Have more people jumped on board with it and joined the BPC, or is it just, was it just the first 70 players and then it's something that, it'll be those 70 for this year?
Oh, okay, I understand. So that was when we originally first just came together, like with the original announcement, and then since then I think we're well over 100, and so more have joined and are getting involved. But it's not only just with the player pool; it's extending to front office staff, it's extending to technical staff. I think people are really resonating with our message. They're really resonating with the need for a platform in place where your voice is valued and heard. Because I believe for a very, for what I consider a large percentage of the player pool, they haven't had that, though they've been told they've had it for a long duration of time. So I'm cautiously optimistic because, as we've talked about at length here, I've had plenty of experiences to understand that there's two sides to the coin, right? There's the good and there's the bad, and there's we've got it all figured out and everything's great, and there's I know nothing and everything was wrong and terrible, right? And I'm very, like I said, cautiously optimistic. I'm optimistic that this is an opportunity and time where we can really evoke meaningful change and really put the dollars behind making that happen and the commitments that need to be put in place, because this is something that has to be worked on for years, not
Right.
something that is just a couple of weeks. We do a few news cycles and then, okay, on to the next. This is the result of systemic issues and problems that have been ignored for a very long time, and they will continue to persist if we don't choose to make it a part of our lifestyle here moving forward. Yeah, and I think there's an opportunity to do that, but that just comes down to the choice that each individual has to remain disciplined and committed to what's necessary to create the future that we all want to see for everybody.
So I know earlier on, this might have been before we started recording, you mentioned that you weren't watching the MLS is Back tournament as much as you would like to, but what have been your reactions to some of the demonstrations that you might have seen that some of the players of the teams have done since they started playing again?
Could you give me a specific scenario? So
like when Philly put the names on the back, or the players kneeling at the beginning of games.
Like, what are my thoughts on it? Or like,
yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Okay. I think from the feedback I've been receiving from people, it's been a very powerful message and statement that is transcending, I think, soccer in America and in reaching internationally. I think, and not only that, I also think ex-players who eventually retired from the league before they ever saw something like this happen. I think it's extremely powerful and meaningful to individuals who may have been pushed out of the league, being called crazy or difficult or, the angry black man or whatever, right? And I can see, like, you leave a league that you've invested as much of your time, energy, life, into, and you go out not the way that you've envisioned it. That can be a very difficult process for anyone to have to understand and go through. But I think coupling that with an idea of, like, you're going out and people are speaking about you and sharing things about you in a way that isn't true, like, at all. And then to see now at least the messages that are coming out of the organizations like this, I feel like, in my mind, that's at least some acknowledgement that you aren't crazy, right? Your experience was real. And through your sacrifice, we now have enough proof in terms of what other people were needing to validate your experience, to be able to address the systemic issues and problems that you experienced. And it's through your experience that we'll be able to have the opportunity to address and fix those issues and those problems within the system. But that's why I say I'm cautiously optimistic, because I say at the end of the day, people have to choose to do it, and then they have to continue to remain committed to it. So what do you have to put into place that will guarantee that you remain committed to making it happen? And I think if at very least those messages are a strong message to those who felt as though they didn't have a voice and they weren't fairly represented, and they may have gotten the short end of the stick or were taken advantage of during their time in this league. It's at least some acknowledgement that that's true, and hopefully they can see a path to better days because of that. So that's the way in which I kind of view it and look at it in terms of that, because there's many different ways in which you could view it and look at it, right? And for me, hopefully that's what's most impactful and meaningful to those players.
So let me ask, I guess this is the big overarching question, at least for me. When I first heard about the BPC coming together, I thought it was a great idea. But the big question that I always had was, a month from now, a year from now, 5 years from now? What is the long-term goal? You mentioned how you want this not just to be a few weeks, blip on the radar, and then die out. What are there plans in place right now to continue pushing this into people's field of view?
Well, in general, yes.
Right.
Right. And those are the conversations that are being had now to really make sure that what we're proposing is the collective thoughts, feedback, and idea of the group at large, right? Because there's a vast and diverse group of perspectives, right? And ideas for how best to get there, or what that looks like. And at the end of the day, the group are professional soccer players. So that's their first and foremost focus, right? So I think the main, I guess in terms of general terms, is saying working together to strategically partner with groups and individuals whose intentions are in alignment with the goals of the group, and then leverage those efforts and partnerships to maximize our voice and maximize our productivity and efficiency as an organization. So that's the way in which I could give the general statement, but one that gives at least an understanding that there's a clear understanding of what it is that we need to make this happen, and the limitations are of the individuals at large and institutions' willingness to participate in making those changes happen. Right. So I believe we have the intellect. I believe we have the network. I believe we have the experience. I believe we have the group and the organizational structure to execute on any plan that we see as being the best plan to go about accomplishing our goals in the long term. So we will be here for the long term, just from that perspective. But to limit ourselves at this point in time for the amount of good I believe that we're going to make happen and do would be premature, because if you're looking at in terms of, we just recently completed our partnership with Players Coalition, right, as an organization, and we're getting tapped into activation events with them right here, right now. That does not include, those are the things that we're going to be able to do just in that partnership alone. That doesn't even include the types of things that I believe we will be able to accomplish with the backing of the MLS, right? And those things will cost money and manpower and woman power to make happen. And yeah, the resources that we have to implement and to execute on those things is going to be what determines how far and how long we can take this. So hopefully that gives at least some understanding of kind of where we're at in the process, how we see it, but more importantly, we're very strategic in the way in which we went about coming together. So this isn't something that, though it's come together very quickly and it's very powerful and it's organized, and broad, we're very organized and strategic in the manner in which we're going about doing it, and for good reason, because we want to maximize this moment and make sure it doesn't turn into what many other movements and things are or have been. But we're also not, we're not naive to the idea that it could be, which is why I think we're in a very good place, because we're accounting for that. Just like the negative visualization that we're talking about here, and why I keep using the word cautiously optimistic. Cautiously optimistic because I'm very optimistic the future will be better. I'm optimistic that we have everything that we need to make it happen, but I'm also understanding that you don't know everything, and that's why we very much need to lean on the community to be behind us and to continue to be behind us and to work with us to continue to push this message here beyond it being popular. Bandwagoning is okay as long as the bandwagon can continues to keep showing up, right? So let's keep going with it. So, but I appreciate you guys asking the questions and giving me a chance to to share that, and hopefully people will resonate with it, and they want to continue to be a part of it.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's definitely, especially in the time that we are in right now, it's something that needs to be shared, right? We can do as many things we want to do, but if nobody knows what's going on, if the message isn't shared, it can die as quickly as it started. So it's important to make sure that we are, like you said, getting it out there and making sure people know about it, and we can continue pushing it forward and forward and forward. So we're very happy that you were able to come on and make those, share that with us, and hopefully we can spread it as far as we can and get people on board with you, because we want to see it go as far as you can take it.
Awesome, brother. I appreciate that, man. This was a good conversation. Did we cover all of the questions?
We covered almost all the questions. I'm sending it to Adam for our little game that we want to play with you to see if you remember the players that you played with. We'll hit a few more fan questions, and then we'll call it there. Adam, go ahead, take it away and explain the game.
So final little game. It's called Who Am I? We've done this with one other guest. So the way this game works is I have 5 players. I limited it to players you played with at San Jose and Chicago, just to make it a little easier for you.
Okay, that's fair, because if you added all my players, it's the hundreds.
Let's say we've been going for a while. It's give your brain a little bit of a break, hopefully. But so I've got 5 clues for each player. I will read them out one at a time.
Okay.
If you know it after the first clue, perfect.
Okay.
Scoring works if you get it on the first clue, it's 5 points, and it works all the way down. So if it takes all 5 clues, you get a point.
Okay. Gotcha.
Theoretically, these get easier, as the 5th clue should be fairly obvious at that point.
Okay.
Hopefully, I did an easy enough job. And,
we'll see.
Yeah.
Okay, before we get started, what is the expected score I'm supposed to be?
So, granted, they had an extra body, so we've only done this once with our friends over at the Sacktown FC podcast. So there were 2 of them, and they scored a 23
out of 25.
Out of 25. So they set the bar fairly high for everybody. So first player, I began my playing career for Lincoln City in England.
Oh, Jesus Christ, dude, come on.
Told you.
Okay, I began my pro career in Lincoln City
in England.
Yep. Okay, and these could be teammates that I played with in San Jose the first spell in 2009.
It could be.
As well as 2000.
Yeah.
Okay, come on, bro.
I'll narrow it down. This is the first spell.
Okay. I started my professional career in, say it again,
Lincoln City. So the team is Lincoln City
in
England.
Lincoln City in England. I'll go with Darren Huckerby.
Correct.
Woo!
That's a 5er.
Woo! Give me some, bro, because I don't know any players other than my teammates, and I've never heard of Lincoln City ever. And I'm going, wait, okay, hold on. 2009? Can we go back to? Woo! Yo, I can
To be fair, so
that's
to Sacktown's credit, Sacktown only had to deal with one team, and they knew about it. So we should tell him what team the player came from. I think that's fair.
This is okay. This is okay. This is okay.
Okay.
I don't want anything easier. I just wanted to understand where the bar was set, and now I like this because you're making me sound even better because now you're giving more information. So I like that. But who? Never heard that team before. This I was okay.
There you go.
All right.
All right. Player number 2.
Okay, next one. Let's go.
Okay. Growing up in Illinois, my AYSO team one year was named the Green Slimers. I told you these get harder. These get easier as they go. So that one should be the hardest clue.
Yeah, growing up in Illinois.
Yep.
Okay. Growing up in Illinois, then you're saying, okay, we're already narrowing it down to Chicago Fire.
Correct.
The Green Slimers.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Okay, so I want to go with the obvious choice. Right? I want to go with the obvious choice, but I don't know if you're trying to throw in some trickery here. We'd be like, oh, there's one random player who grew up in this, and now, haha, you suck, you idiot. Okay.
Next clue.
No.
Okay.
Grew up in Illinois. Okay. I guess my question is, if I guess wrong, what happens?
I move on.
Oh, you just move on to the
Yeah,
next.
we haven't established the rules for wrong guesses yet.
Okay, you move on to the next hint.
Yeah,
next clue in that person. Yep.
Okay, so we don't. It's not like you guess. It's not like Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, where you're out on to the next one.
Not as of right now.
Oh, okay. Green Slimers, growing up in Illinois.
Mm-hmm.
That's AYSO.
Correct.
Can I get like the age at which he played?
I do not have that information.
Okay. So you see how? Okay. We talked about this earlier. Context is everything.
That's right.
Okay. So I'm going Chicago Fire. The immediate person I want to say is Mike McGee. So I'm gonna choose Mike McGee.
There it is.
There it is. There we go. That's what I was saying, because I'm going like, hold on. If you're gonna give me some other dude who's on the team for like 2 weeks who grew up there, okay, got it.
All right.
Player number 3.
So I have the honor of giving player number 3, and
Okay.
the first clue is I was drafted 41st overall in 2005, where I led the reserve team in goals in my first year.
I was drafted in what?
He was drafted 41st overall in 2005.
No, okay, then that has to be Wondolowski.
That it is.
So, well, okay, yeah. This was like, see, my problem is no, it can't be Wando because that's too easy. They want it to be someone else. They're tricking me. Okay, I got you. Okay, Wando.
If it means anything, Adam gave me the same quiz before, and I had the same thinking as you. Illinois has to be Chicago. 41st in 2005 has to be Wando. I have the same thinking, so we're on the same page there.
There we go. Love that.
All right, Colin.
All right, on to the next one. First clue. I made my professional debut in the 4th tier of USL in 2005.
Okay. You guys are ridiculous. I made professional debut in the USL in 2005. You guys are dumb for this one. This is stupid. Okay.
I called him out on this one too. I didn't like this. I didn't like that one either.
This is ridiculous. Okay. I just want you to know that this is ridiculous.
Noted.
I'm not happy with it. Okay. USL 2005 professional debut. You said 4th. Say that again. What was it?
The 4th tier of USL.
The 4th tier of USL in 2005. What was that called then?
Something.
Clue.
Yeah.
Yeah, you guys are
USL League,
help me out
USL
here.
League 2.
Yeah, what was that? Okay, this is important. Okay, this is what I'm saying. Wait, at that point in time in 2005, what was it called? Because that would help. That would help a lot.
Yeah, Adam.
I think it's the PDL. I think it's PDL. So I think it's Premier Development League.
Okay, Premier. This one. Okay, so at that time, it's PDL, it's like men's league. It's basically men's league.
Yeah,
which is ridiculous. Which is why this is a ridiculous question. Hey, I played in men's league in 2005. Who am I? Come on, bro. Everyone was playing in men's league at that time. Okay, but you're saying
if I give you the team, would that help?
I don't want it. Okay, so you said San Jose or Chicago. Those are the only two. Okay. San Jose. Okay. PDL. You were in PDL in 2005. Okay.
Adam, you're bad for this one.
Okay. Okay. So let me break down. I'll talk you through how I'm breaking this down so I can at least come to some type of conclusion. So we're going to go, okay, 2005, you're saying that's Wondolowski's draft class.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know anything about Wondolowski's draft class at all. I just know that, okay, 2005, Wondolowski, that was the draft, because I only know that because of the question you asked me earlier. Right. So now I'm going like, okay, Wando's 36, right? And then I'm thinking about other teammates who are similar in age to Wondolowski.
Mm-hmm.
Now you're going like, okay, I was thinking Shea Salinas, but then I'm going like, no, Shea's too young. That doesn't make any sense. Then now I'm going like, okay, you got to go older because chances are they're older or at least the same age as Wando. And now I'm going like Ramiro Corrales is probably too old. But then you're also thinking like Clarence Goodson also played too, so he was there. But then I'm going Clarence played for the U.S. men's national team. How many guys were actually starting out at the men's league PDL who made it there? But then I'm also thinking of like a Jimmy Conrad because I think I watched something that he did before and he started at the bottom. But he wasn't talking about anybody who was around with him at that point in time. So I would say like he's got to be an anomaly for someone who's made it to that top level. Very similar to me in that regard. So then you're starting to go like, okay, what are these guys' circles of influence and their friends who are still around? And then who was around while I was playing? That narrows it down a little bit more. But you had to have been coming up through the U.S. soccer system. And now that's where it throws a wrench into it because you're saying you started out at the PDL level in 2005? And I'm stuck on San Jose right now because I'm thinking to Chicago. And in Chicago, I'm going, there's no like older American dudes. Okay. Maybe you're thinking something in the lines with Jeff Lorenowitz because Jeff is older and he came from the bottom. He's same. I'm going to go with Jeff Lorenowitz.
It is not Jeff.
No! I don't want to go too long. I was thinking about it. It's not Jeff?
It's not
Not
Jeff.
Jeff.
Oh, okay.
All right, time for the next clue.
Next one.
I've played for 3 different MLS teams: the Philadelphia Union, the Vancouver Whitecaps, and the San Jose Earthquakes.
Damn it, that's bullcrap. So it's Shea Salinas.
It is.
Yeah.
This is garbage, bro. That's garbage. That's such garbage. That's trash, bro.
When you said I thought it was Shea Salinas, I thought you were going to pull out Shea Salinas out of the clue. I made my professional debut in PDO in 2005. I would have left. I would have turned everything off. I would have left because that would have been some voodoo magic.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, because but this is okay. But that's why I was like, actually, let me just talk you guys through how I'm thinking through this whole thing.
Yeah.
My initial thing is like, I want to say Shea Salinas. I do, but I'm going, he's younger than Wando, and I'm going like, okay, it's better older. So let me think more. I'm getting caught up on Jeff. The reason why I say Jeff over Shea was because I go, okay, well, I played with Jeff in Colorado, but I also played with Jeff in Chicago. And Jeff started out on like 18.5 on his, or 12.5, sorry, on his first contract with New England Revolution. So that's why when I'm going between Jeff and Shea, if I have to pick, I'm saying it's probably more likely Jeff, because Jeff I know started at 12.5 back in the day. So he's more likely in my mind to have started out at men's league. So that's why I came down to that. But this is good, man. I like this, especially using teammates. This is decent. But then, yeah, your second clue, of course, is Shea. It's garbage.
Adam, you're a bad man. Adam, you're a bad man.
All right.
I like that.
Yeah, player number 5.
Okay.
I was born in Pasadena, where I was drafted by the Revolution in 05.
So Jeff Lorenowitz?
So Jeff Lorenowitz.
I'm telling you, this guy can see
guessed
our
him for
screen.
Shea. I was
I don't
like,
know
damn
who's
it.
sharing their screen, but y'all gotta chill. This is wild.
Yep.
Hey, that's not bad, bro. I'm a little bit angry because the default. Okay, but this is good because you guys can at least see my thinking, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, the way in which I'm breaking it down is I'm saying, okay, if I go with Jeff is the wild card. But if I get wrong with Jeff, I'll get it right with the second one.
Yeah.
As opposed to if I don't go with the wild card, I go with the sure thing. Now I'm kind of screwed because I don't know for sure if the second clue is going to give me enough information to figure it out. So this is good because this ties to where I said you want to score your best goals when people are paying attention and looking. Because then nobody was watching when I was scoring off the kickoff in reserve league.
Right.
And they didn't count. They said, oh, it doesn't count. That doesn't matter. I go like, what? Why doesn't it count here? What are you guys talking about? So it took me a while to figure all this stuff out. But now, hey, I'm breaking it down, bro.
I love that. That was great. Watching your thought process was fantastic. 24 out of 25. You have broken our record. You are now on the top of our leaderboard. Let's do a quick fire fan question section. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of them.
Okay.
And it just whatever comes to your head, we'll just go straight through them. I technically had 8. I already asked one of them.
Okay.
But here we go with the first one. And you kind of mentioned a little bit more on a few of them, but just put them all together at once. Which former teammate did you have the best on-field chemistry, and what kind of was the driving factor behind why you had that type of chemistry?
Okay, well, you want to shout out who? Do you have the names of the people who are asking the questions?
Oh, I do. Let me pull them up. It's on the Reddit that we asked. So give me 1 second, and I will look at it. So this is from. Come on, computer, load. All right. So this is from. Where'd you go? This guy asked a few questions. So this is from Romp the Green via San Jose Earthquakes subreddit.
Okay. And he asked, which player did I have the best on-field chemistry with?
And what was the driving factor? What made you guys click?
Oh, okay. Well, it's funny. The one that I believe I had the most on-field chemistry with would have been Sergio McDonald, and we never got to play together. Mm-hmm. So, like, in just training. And I think that would be the one that I was like, man, I wish they would play us together up top, because I also think, like, Sergio didn't get a fair shake in MLS because they were playing him as a lone striker, and that wasn't his game. And I think he was a DP, so it was – there's so many layers as to why I think a lot of DPs and people who come over here, they don't perform very well or do as well as they're thought to, is because the system here is completely different. But yeah, on field, like in-game chemistry in terms of like just one individual, you're talking about just one individual guy who I was playing with that I went like, our styles are in sync very well. Like nobody can beat us if we're on a team together. And that's what confused me as to why we never played. And that's a whole nother thing that we can get to is Sergio. And I think the reason for that is like, we just gelled really well. I'd shared the story in the past. Like we bought a car off of Craigslist together for like under $900 because he said, Quincy, we need a car, but I want that very dirty car. That's how you talk, dirty. And I said, Sergio, bro, okay, whatever, let's make it happen. How much money are you down to put down? He's like, I don't want to spend more than $1,000. I said, Sergio, bro, getting a car for under $1,000. This guy would spend like more than $1,000 on some of his pairs of shoes, but he didn't want to put more than that into the car. But we were boys. I'm like, yeah, whatever. Okay, we'll go halves with you on it. And we found some dude selling his car for like $980 on Craigslist, and we went and met him up, and we bought the car from the guy. But I told Sergio, I said, listen, the only way and the only reason I'm willing to buy this car is if we take it straight to the AutoZone so they can check the brakes, because that's the thing that is most important to me. I said, as long as the brakes are okay, like we can drive a crappy car. I don't care. So we buy the car, right? We buy the car from the guy. We're driving down the road. I'm like, this is not safe at all. We get it to the shop. They jack it up on the thing. 15 minutes, 20 minutes goes by. They come back out and they say, listen, we don't want any liability or responsibility for this car. Like they took the wheels off and the brake fluid and the whole thing exploded and came off, right? And they basically are like, no, you know what I'm saying? Like we don't even want to put the tires back on the car. We're not even going to do that because we don't want any liability. I said, okay. I said, Sergio, you see what I'm talking about? He's like, oh yeah, okay. I said, all right, it's all good. I said, guys, all right, I'll sign whatever in terms of liability. Can you please put the tires back on the car? I know there's a used car dealership down the road, like half a mile. And I said, I want to take it over there and let's see what we can do. So they're like, okay. We drove the car back down there, right? We put it in. They check they're checking the engine and all that. I'm like, yeah, I want to trade in this car. What's the trade-in value that you're going to give me for this car? So by the time they did their thing, we went over that. We were negotiating and talking about it. We got a $1,500 credit for the trade-in on the car.
Go on.
Yeah. So then we took that, right? We took that and I said, okay, Sergio, we're going to add an extra 500 each. Now we've got $2,500. We bought this, I want to say it was like a 98, like Lexus ES or something 250, something like that. Had air conditioning, leather seats. We drove that car around nonstop like the rest of the year until Sergio drove it on it. The one time he drove the car by himself on his own, all of a sudden the gasket blew up on it, and he's called me on the phone. Quincy, the car's on fire. I don't know what to do. So then now I'm giving you the whole story. So then what I did when I was negotiating with them the terms of the car, I said, listen, I want a car that will work for us till the end of the year. I said, no matter what. I said, if the car breaks, I'm going to bring it back down here and you're going to give me another one. So, and at the end of the year, I'm going to give you the car back. So it's a win-win for you guys. Just give me a car that works. So when it blew up on the side of the road, we took it back to that place, back renegotiated, wheeled and dealed, got another car. Oh man. See, these are the experiences. These are the good times. That's why the chemistry was there, right? Stuff like that, stupid stories like that. Him riding his bike downtown, and then he'll always come to my window. Him and Dilly Duca would come to my window and knock on the window because I'd be working. They'd be like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "Bro, I'm building the company, bro. Working." They're like, "Bro, you work too much, man. Like, come on, let's ride bikes." I'm like, "Nah, bro, I can't do that. So yeah. Oh man. See, these are the fun stories and all the stuff that these are the things that get me through the really crappy times of like organizations maybe treating you like trash, right? But you're thinking about like the fun, stupid stories like this. So I had great chemistry with many players in different capacities at different times. Danny Husen at San Jose, great chemistry with him. Great. We didn't get to play too much. It's usually I think the saddest part of my career is like I make really good friends with guys. We have really great chemistry, but because the idea wasn't for it to be us when I was coming on board. I'm always the guy that comes in like when everything's crap and you just need a short-term fix. And then they see that it works, so that's a good one. I like that one. I got to think through that, but yeah, I had great chemistry. So now I had great chemistry with Mike McGee. That was amazing. Like the stories that we have, I can't share right now, or maybe you have to get Mike McGee on and then we could share them together. But yeah, it's always just the stupid stuff and the fun stuff you're doing off the field that creates on-field chemistry. So I get disappointed when I talked about earlier, like it's bittersweet because more money and more attention's coming into it. Like the stories that make chemistry and make good times are types of things that guys are not doing and avoiding because it's like, oh, you got to be in bed by 8:00 and you got to eat this food. And if you make a mistake and say the wrong thing in the media, people are going to kill you. It's just, those are it's an old timer talking about the good old days and all that kind of stuff. So I'll avoid that because I'm still young. 10 more.
Yeah, there you go. So we just had a question come in as we were speaking from Tom in San Jose asking, to who or what does he credit his amazing eyebrows to? Can you speak onto that?
What do you mean? I mean,
I don't know.
Genetic.
Yeah.
It has to be, man. Some of these San Jose fans are a little off their rocker, I think.
Are we live on YouTube or like what are we doing?
No. It came in, so we posted it in Reddit, and they just asked it. I got a notification saying it got asked in Reddit.
Yeah, I don't know if that's a sarcastic one or if it was an actual legit one, but either way, thanks.
Yeah, right. From the same guy from before, Romp the Green. How does playing for a team with like low spending power like the Quakes differ from clubs with bigger budgets like Toronto, Chicago, Montreal, or DC?
guys in your can of worms questions, right? But no, but this is good. Okay. They differ in many ways, but I would assume the question is really like, is money necessary to be successful? Right? It's really saying like, do you have a chance to win if you don't have the big budget and the big money? The answer to that question is yes, you do have a chance to win. But where you can't compete in the budget, you have to make up for in culture. And I think the biggest problem that organizations that don't have much money is they don't invest enough in culture. And culture is something that takes time to build. And in the business of professional sports, you got to win tomorrow, right? And if your plan and vision is build culture over 3 years, but lose every game between now and then, most people aren't going to be ready for your culture 3 years from now. They want to, you know what I mean? They don't want to deal with losing for 3 years to have a winning championship team. But the way in which I caution people who have that thinking is only one person can be the champion every year, right? And if everybody's going with short-term thinking to win this year, only one person's going to get that right, which means everybody else is getting it wrong. And the next year, if you go with that same thinking, again, only one's going to get it right. And at year 3, again, only one, right? So if you believe you'll luckily be the one that gets it, everything falls into place and you win this year, okay, then that's how you want to play the game. You gamble. You're a gambler. Let's put it all on put it all on 00. Let's go. And I'm down to play with people who like to play that way because I love that. Let's go. But if you're saying, okay, but here's the most thing. Most people don't think they're putting all their money on 00. They think they're being strategic and like spreading it out and all that kind of stuff. And you're going like, okay, if you're spreading it out, okay, so this is good. So we're going to break it down and bring it all together. Let's use roulette because that's, hopefully guys, people are understanding roulette rules. If not, in general, you've got like 33 spots on the table. If you put $1 on one spot and it lands on that roulette table, right, you get paid out. I think it's 33 to 1 or 35 to 1, right? It's 33 to 1, right? Okay. So you got 33 spots on the table and you go like, oh, let me spread it out. I've got $33. I put $1 on each one. This is ingenious. I'm going to win, right? But if you win, you're at the exact same spot that you started. But there's still these other 2 spots on the table, 0, 00, right? Mm-hmm. And the one time it lands on that, you lose everything. And that's how most people are approaching this. They think they're being strategic and smart by not taking risk and putting their money. At least when they see me show up, they see me show up and put my money on 0 or 00. And they go like, oh, this guy's crazy. Right? I go like, yeah, I'm crazy. But either I hit big or I lose my money right away and I can go and spend my time working on trying to make my next $33. While you sit there with your only $33 and you keep spreading it, you play the game for maybe 2 or 3 hours and then you lose it all on 0, 00. So the reason I'm using that as framework and context is I'm saying like let's take that same thinking and philosophy and ideology and apply that to soccer. That's how most organizations are operating and running. They're saying, oh, we want to hope to win this year, but chances are you're not going to. But 3 years is still going to pass and you're going to be in the same spot that you're in today. So are you going to learn from the mistakes and the experiences from the past, or are you just going to want to win so much tomorrow that you won't invest to win 3 years from now or 4 years from now? So, and by doing this and sharing this, right, it's hopefully upgrading the thinking of the entire league and their organizations and how they're approaching things, right? So we can all grow and elevate together, right? Yeah, it's creating more competition. Quincy, why would you share your strategy and your input? Because I want to improve. I want to be better. How do we increase? The way we get better, we improve our competition. Our competition gets better. They come, they show us new ways. We get to have fun. I get to improve my level of thinking, or you get to beat me at my level of thinking. And then I know that your thinking is better than mine. Then I can learn your philosophy. I can learn and grow. That's how I'm viewing it. That's how I look at it, right? It's a game to me, and it's a fun game. 4D chess. We talk about it on the Ask Soccer Pro show every Thursday, 6 p.m. PST, 9 p.m. EST. You guys know what it is, the MSL, Mental Strength League. Game you're either playing or you're steady getting played. That's what we've been talking about. That's what we're doing. But yes, that's the way in which the difference between the teams that have money and the teams that don't. Typically, the teams that have money understand at least that investing in culture is important, and very few organizations I see are investing in culture. And this is also something that they started investing in time ago, and most people aren't understanding why. And so this is good. So in terms of historical context, if you look at what Kansas City got right in the past, was they overpaid for Zusi, Bess, Beasler, who else? Graham Zusi, Bessler, and
Sinovic.
Sinovich probably.
Sinovic. But they didn't Ike Opara, which, okay, we could talk about. We'll go about that in another time or whatever. But at least they got that right, because at that time they were offering them $500,000, $600,000 contracts, which was absurdly heard of for American players, especially when they could have gone to Germany for maybe 1.5 million, right? So because they made that long-term commitment and investment in those players at that point in time, and it was looked at as crazy at the time, like, oh, who would do that? You saw that they were able to compete with the teams that had the big budgets and all of that, because for me, that's an investment in culture. Right? Yeah. Now, they didn't invest in new culture, in my mind, in my opinion, in terms of creating a system where they could repeat what it was that they were doing in the long term. They're probably in the process of trying to figure that out and do that or whatever. I don't know. This is just outside looking in, right? But it's also the fatal mistake of, once you figure out something that works and you're doing it, you believe that that's always going to work in the future, and then you realize you get passed by. Passed up or passed by. I think a perfect example of culture in this era is Seattle, and I was talking about it before, when Seattle made the decision to invest in Morris in the middle of his injury. And most people would be like, that's crazy, that's ridiculous, that's absurd. I understand from both angles. One, I also understand from players who are not paid and who haven't been compensated in the past. This is ridiculous. Like, let's be very specific. So like an Eddie Johnson, who's balling and killing it for Seattle, never got paid, was considered a angry guy, was considered a problem person. Why? Because he wanted to be paid for balling out and doing well for an organization. So that makes you unrealistic or difficult or whatever. I could see, in my mind's eyes, an individual like him seeing Morris getting this contract is like, what the heck? You know what I mean? Like, what's going on? That's injured, all this. I was playing and doing all that at a very high level. For me, when I'm looking at it, because this is what we're talking about, subjective, like good, it can be good and bad. So there's an example where that can be viewed as bad, right? For me, when I'm saying in terms of culture of the organization, that's a good investment in terms of the long term, because they're saying, look, if it doesn't pan out for Jordan, he doesn't come back, he has this catastrophic injury, it ends up being Zakwani, because they've seen that in the past. Now seeing I'm thinking about it more, this is why they were able to figure this out. Because I'm going like, what did they see for them to understand that? Because most people don't understand this. So you're hearing me think through it, right? Yeah. They saw Zakwani, and what they realized is, even if we give Morris a huge $1 million contract for 3 or 4 years guaranteed, it's substantially lower than what his cost would be if he reaches his full potential, which we believe he has the opportunity to if he comes back healthy, right? If he does come back, he comes back knowing that we gave him money when he needed it most and was most down and out. So he is tied to our club forever. No one can come and offer him any amount of money to leave. He's not going anywhere. Now, worst case scenario, it doesn't pan out and he doesn't work out. He becomes the greatest ambassador on behalf of our organization here moving forward, because this dude's going to tell everyone the story about how Seattle is a place where they care about you, they invest in you, and when you need them most, they've got your back. Because look what they did for me. So from the business perspective, they're looking and saying, this is easy. This is an easy decision, because the PR and press that he'll do for us and working for an organization over the next 10, 15, 20 years, if it doesn't work out for him, more than makes up for the cost of overpaying him now in the moment, right? But that's a decision that happened a while ago. And now we're seeing, oh, it worked out because he came back and now he's playing and balling out. So now it's a win-win. And on top of that, it's a win-win-win because I'm talking about it here with you right now, right? So there you go. It's furthering the story. It's furthering the culture. It's furthering the name, even though I'm not even directly a part of the organization. But if I see that and I understand that and what that means, right, that now means you're an organization that people want to be a part of. They want to contribute to. They want to grow with. That's how you build dynasty, right?
Yeah.
So culture. And it's the ones who figure that out first that win, but the ones who figure out how to sustain culture are the ones that will win for the long term. I think if you're looking at Toronto, they figured out what they got wrong culturally, and I could see that. So you guys are now you're tapping into all my experience, guys. When I was in Toronto, okay, so jumping back to Josh Janiri, right? He was one of the funniest dudes I'd ever met on my team, right? But naturally funny. He would just speak and I'd laugh. I'm like, dude, what is this guy on? His humor is just ridiculous. Like, I love this dude, right? And I just thought it was him. He's young. He was 17 at the time when we signed him, right? But when I eventually got to Toronto, he was back with the Toronto Academy team, right? When I was there as well too. And then I realized, oh, it's culture. It's Canadian culture. That's the humor of Canadians, right? So I didn't know that till I got there, and I went, oh, okay, I really like this. This is funny. This is fun. I enjoy this. But I could see at that time, or I believed I could see at that time, right? I think my specialty as a player is vision, but most people don't think that. My specialty is vision, but I didn't have the technical work and skills from a young enough age to bridge that gap to be as technically sound as, like top tier players. But I have good enough vision to bridge that gap between my technical ability and do the work to get up there. So, okay, that's a sidebar. But giving clarity on this. At that time, what I was looking at, I said, oh, the reason why Toronto isn't winning in my mind at that time, because I'm trying to assess what's going on, is they don't understand that what they're up against with American culture. They're better, like technically, skillfully, they're better than us. But mentally, they're not better because and the reason why they're not better isn't because the way that they think is wrong. But the difference is this: if in American culture, if we know that you're better than us doing all of our hardest work and trying our hardest, we'll cheat to win. In Canadian culture, they won't do that. They go, we tried our best and it wasn't good enough. Which is why people say Canadian people are very nice. It's a great when you're saying like a team that has a good special place in my heart. Montreal has a great special place in my heart because I love that place for my family, right? Like we were really close to ending up re-signing there with Remy. It didn't work out because of the budget constraints and your limited roster spots and everything like that. But I really was going. Had I not signed with DC, or had that not fallen through, I wouldn't have signed with DC, right? But my point from all of this was, culturally, it's a great place. I love it. The fans, the people, everything is great about it. But the reason why they weren't able to beat Americans was because that was a fact. Like if it came down to it, the person who's willing to cheat will win. It doesn't mean it's fair. It doesn't mean it's right. It just means that's just the fact or truth, right? So I don't remember or know who eventually ended up coming in, but then you saw that they got American center back, American midfield, American forward, and then they built outside of that culturally. So now they have the cultural understanding that was necessary to build their dynasty. That's the way in which I view and I'm looking at these types of things when I'm trying to understand and break down teams and organizations to survive in a league of which I don't know anyone beyond the players that I play against and my teammates, because I don't, right? So you can call me crazy and the whole conspiracy and stuff, but these are the connections that I make and how I'm thinking through stuff to understand my world, because I came in blind. I didn't know anybody at all. And even me talking with you about this right now, I'm thinking through, holy crap, the way in which I've built the network in my mind is ridiculous. This is crazy, man. This is nuts. This is pretty cool.
Very, very cool.
Okay.
We've got 3 more quick fire questions.
Yeah, so much for quick fire, huh?
Yeah. These I don't think there's a physical way these can turn into stories, but if you do, we'll see.
Okay, is that a challenge, or are you just saying you're not have a story?
So we're about to hit 3 hours. I don't know if it's a challenge much at this point, but at some point,
before you go, what percentage of your following do you believe actually makes it all the way through this entire recording?
Oh, that's a good shout. I know a few of them. When I usually put these out and I preface what we talked about, if it's an interview with somebody who's super interesting like yourself, it will be a lot more than if it's just us talking about games from the week. So I think it'll be pretty high.
Throw a number out there. Give me a percentage.
Let's say 40% from our usual 10.
Okay, so
I'm calling 80.
You think 80?
80
are making all the way through?
By far, this will be our longest. But I think this is by and large been the best, far and away the best done.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So how many? Okay, if you're saying 40 to 80, so now we're breaking it down. Okay,
big range.
To 80, what number? How large is your audience? Like, how many people is that?
We usually get about 40 to 50 viewers on a given episode, so 50% of that is 25, anywhere from there.
Okay, so 25. So then what we'll say is the first 10 who make it all the way through listening to the entire thing, and I'm going to put a caveat in this as well too, because if they just jump to this, don't put this in the show notes, obviously.
No, right.
Okay. And if they just jump to this point in the end, because this happens to be the point in which they jump in and they get to miss out on all the rest of it, I'm going to put a caveat in it that makes up for that. So we're okay.
Cool.
But the first 10 people and this is the game that I'll ask of you guys before we do the rest of the rapid fire stuff. The first 10 people to listen to this in its entirety and do what? And this is what I'm bringing up to you guys here. I will say retweet or tag or share or do a video shout out of them listening to your guys' podcast, what their favorite episode is, what they like about it, something to that effect, using your hashtag and your stuff. I'm going to send them, and I'll have to coordinate. You guys will coordinate because you'll manage it and you'll get the information. Mm-hmm. We'll send them a perfect soccer ball for free anywhere in the U.S. Right? So if you're international, I'll still probably send you one, but I should. Okay. So I'll say 10 of the perfect soccer ball, and then we'll say the best testimonial, and by best I mean most creative or fun or whatever on your guys' side, they'll get a perfect soccer goal. We'll send that out to them.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. And then so whatever the testimonial is for your guys' podcast or show, the best one gets that, and then the next 10 who send one in, up to 10, will get the soccer ball. And then anyone, if it ends up being on beyond 10, because let's say people are listening to this in the future, what we'll say is anyone who does that for you guys beyond this in the future, I'll give them access to all of my skills and drills training videos in our Perfect Soccer Team membership area for free. So I think Skills Academy, that would be the Skills Academy training center that Ross LeBeau and I put together while we were in Chicago Fire at the Chicago Fire Stadium. And you even got Benji Hoya, who's in there, who made a guest appearance to help us to put that together. So we sell that on our site. Everybody who sends you guys that here moving forward indefinitely will get access to that for free as well. So now this is an evergreen episode that you guys can continue to do Throwback Thursdays, Flashback Fridays, Shout Out Saturdays to indefinitely, to hopefully generate you guys some more testimonials and people who want to participate in the community. Because guys, the Amarikwa process, teamwork equals dream work.
Yes, I love it. I love it.
Do it. All right,
so you guys heard it here first. If you guys are listening to this all the way through, you haven't missed a single second, make sure you're clipping it to us. Make sure you're showing us, and we'll organize something. We'll put a tweet out, or what do we want to say? If you send us something on Twitter with the hashtag hashtag the DP pod with a screen grab of you making all the way through, and you send us the word Quincy.
Okay. Okay. I
We
see
have-
you guys. I see how you're thinking about it now. Think bigger.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm saying indefinitely, a video testimonial of what you've learned from the episode.
Oh, okay. I like
And
it.
okay, and then you're tagging your guys' podcast,
Yeah.
my account, and using a hashtag. I'm not sure what your guys' hashtag is or what's going on. Maybe you could use the hashtag Quincy Time MSL. But the main thing is you're tagging my personal account, your guys' account, and you're sharing just a testimonial of what you've learned from this episode and this podcast. And if people should listen, if it's great or if it's garbage, I want it to be honest. Don't give me some bull crap testimonial. If you think that this is crap, and you say it's crap and you mean it and you genuinely mean it and you will shoot a testimonial of that and you'll tag us in it, I will send you a perfect soccer ball just for that.
Oh yeah.
So there's no cap on that, as long as you ain't capping.
Love it. All right, so you guys heard it here. Video record yourself telling us what you took out of this episode. Doesn't need to be an hour or 3 hours, but let us know what you took out of this. Tag Quincy's account, our account, hashtag the DP pod, hashtag Quincy Time, and we'll get on that.
There you go. And there you go. And that goes forever. So if you guys are able to clip this episode, as I'm sure you'll be able to, because 3 hours, right?
Yeah.
You can drip clips of this over time, and then if people end up clicking and listening to the full episode to get the full stuff, they'll end up seeing this, and you guys will see how it all comes together, how these ideas come to life, how collaboration works. But yeah, no, I'm loving what you guys are doing, and hopefully this will help continue to build the audience. So, all right, so rapid fire questions that might take super long. Let's do it.
Ready? This is from Juan San Abria Jr. Favorite restaurant in San Jose, favorite team kit you've ever worn, favorite music artist to listen to before a game.
Oh, man, come on. You guys are always hitting me with this stuff. And then I'm going to just see a clip of me saying, like, yeah, I really like this food truck. And then they just got a commercial of that everywhere, all over the place. As long as you guys are giving me some royalties, all right, then let's go. Let's do it. But I want equity. I don't want royalties. I want equity, okay? Everybody, that's what we need. That's what I want everybody to focus on, equity. Tying back to the beginning of our conversation of ownership in a team and the scarf. Look at that. We've tied the whole conversation back to bang, bang, bang. So it's MSL. We're just riding the wave, guys.
That's right. That's right.
Okay. Best food in San Jose, or not? Or what did I enjoy well in San Jose?
Yeah, favorite restaurant, favorite place you go out to eat.
I think I wouldn't say because of necessarily the food, just the location. We would go to Sinao on Santana Row. I think that's what it was called, right? Sinao was good because that's where we'd hang out, get some food, appetizers and stuff with the guys. Like I enjoyed a lot of the guys. Mark Pelosi, Danny Husen, Sana Nayasi, Innocent Imagara. Oh, God, these guys are dumb. I love them. They're so dumb, but I love them to death. Shout out Sana. I think Sana's back in Seattle. So, going there and meeting with those guys and hanging out, that was cool in terms of that. Place I really enjoy eating a lot is Pluto's, which is around the corner there as well. Shout out Lauren Whitted from Davis. She put me onto Pluto's back when I was at Davis, and that was the one that I like a lot because you can go get salads there all the time, but they're really good salads. You can throw anything and everything in it. You can throw your steak or your chicken and all that kind of stuff, and you at least feel good about yourself eating there. I don't know if it's like Chipotle where it's soaked in butter and fat all day, and you're like, oh, I'm eating a salad.
Yeah.
So hopefully that gives more clarity. I'm usually really horrible at these things, so hopefully that's more like direct. Then you said,
right.
So you said
favorite kit you've ever worn.
Favorite kit,
like design, like what was anytime you look back, if you were to get one kit of your name?
Oh, on my team, like a team, the team that I played for.
That you've
like
ever worn, yeah.
Like designed kit.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Ooh, the favorite. I really like the ooh, okay, now you're making me think because I'm like, oh, I like a lot of them. Well, I like there's a photo that I have, I think it's like on the background on my website right now. It's me on the field.
Mhm.
It's me on the field at DC United, and then I think Wayne's yeah, like Wayne's grabbing my shoulder or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I like those kits just how it looks. I don't know if that was Pride Night or what the every night they come up with like there's because I was thinking of the camo night where they did that where there's within it something like that. But I like the one where there's a reason why I must have picked that photo because I was like, oh, I like that jersey. I just like how it looks. So that one kind of jumps out to me in terms of a kid I liked. But I like black jerseys. I like black jerseys. Some of the Quakes ones I liked, but I'd say ones that stand out most to me were the Montreal ones were cool. Yeah, I like all the jerseys, but I'm going in terms of like that one. I think like that DC United jersey, that one was pretty dope. But the one that I liked a lot that I saw, I think it was the Sporting Kansas City. I think it was like white on white or something like that. I think I got that. I took that from Jaleel when I played them that one time. And then the other one I liked was Seattle had one, and then I took that from Obafemi when we played them in some like Open Cup game or something, I think.
Very nice.
Yeah.
All right. Favorite music or artist you listen to before a game? Who's your go-to?
Ooh, okay. So if I'm going to listen to music, typically, and we're talking about in aggregate, I like classical music or jazz.
Nice.
So
Nice.
just
I like that.
my favorite like classic pianos like Moonlight Sonata for Elise. I like that. I could just listen to those on like repeat for like hours. And then jazz like Take Five. Really like that. And then if I'm not doing that, then I'm listening to some like real like trap hood music that just is like completely inappropriate for anything, but it's just like I like that too. So yeah, classical or hood trap.
Right. It's one
Wide
side
range.
or the other on
Yeah.
that spectrum. Absolutely love it.
Yeah, Trinidad James's
There you go.
all gold everything album.
Yeah.
That or Mozart.
Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. All right. I'm going to send this to Adam to give you his created segment here. This little, he's going to ask you something, and then we'll give you a space to plug all of your accounts, and we'll call it a day. Adam, go ahead.
Okay. So this is our professional call out. So obviously, we've mentioned so many names over the last 3 hours. But this is now your opportunity to pick our next guest. So who do you think we should have on, and who should we spam trying to get on the show?
I respect this hustle of
Thank you.
strategic hustle. Hey, you want to shout out some people that you think we should interview next? We can clip it and send it to them in a message so that they can see that I'm telling them to do it. I respect that hustle.
Well,
Okay.
Adam.
And because it's the first time I'm experiencing it, I will oblige. Right?
Thank you.
Uh-huh. Nah, that's a clever one. That's some 4D chess right there. That is a setup. Hey, at the end of this whole entire time, yeah, by the way, you want to get us our next guest on the okay. No, but because I respect it and I like that. Let me think. I'm trying to think strategically which is one that will obviously one that'll say yes. But then have an interesting or fun episode. So, okay, give me some. What would be more helpful is who would you want to interview and like why? Like who's someone that you're wanting to or you'd be interested in?
So you mentioned Mike McGee earlier. You said you had some really cool times with Mikey, and we always like to have players who just have really awesome experiences. You right now have just gone for 3 hours about every awesome experience you've had. Not even every awesome, but just a few of them. And that's the type of stuff that we like because it's just different, right? We can talk to a bunch of people who have team podcasts or soccer podcasts, and they just don't have the same types of stories. So anybody you think would have, I guess, neat stories to tell or things of that nature.
Okay. I got you. That gives more context. So first and foremost, Mike, make sure you come and join these guys' podcasts. Share with them a couple of fun times and stories. Don't get yourself into too much trouble. I think Mike will definitely be open to doing that. And the further guys get away from their career, the more likely they are to share the real stories. So I'm sure that Mike will be willing to share some good ones that he probably wasn't willing to share in the past. And if not, maybe you'll just have to ask him enough times. So I'd say Mike would be a good one. Current player. Ooh, okay. You guys should probably interview Earl Edwards Jr.
Oh, yeah.
That would be a good one. Yeah, because I've been working with him for a while now, and I'm sure he would give you a lot of interesting stories or perspectives, ones that I'm not even aware of or even known about, because he's come up kind of through the system, right? He was a UCLA kid. His dad's the sports director for, I think, UC San Diego. Like the things that these guys talk to me about are just like, oh, that's just your normal. Okay, cool. So he'd be good. I'd say Griffin Yao. You guys should be talking to him. He's usually one who to be very open. I think a good person for you to talk to now would be Shea Salinas. Speaking of which, with everything that we've got there, I saw his article that he had just recently released on his views of the BLM movement and Kaepernick kneeling. And I think it would be great to speak with him because he could probably share some stories and perspectives, not only of how he viewed it originally, but maybe how he's looking at it now, looking back. That would be good in terms of stories. And now, okay, so there we go. Now we're thinking. Wando, if you could get Wando on there, that would be dope. I'm thinking. I think it would be good because I'm thinking about for myself selfishly as well now too. Because I also want to hear how guys were viewing stuff that I was doing in the locker room at the time, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. For a long period of time, I was just going like, why doesn't anybody understand what I'm talking about? Whatever, I don't care. Who else? Oh, see, this is supposed to be rapid fire, so I'm thinking about a bunch. Now I got you guys a whole bunch of people. I would say start working on those guys and chipping away at them. See if they'll come on the pod and talk with you guys, and then you let me know if you make any headway with any of them.
Yeah,
absolutely. So this is where we'll give you spots to go ahead and plug anything you've got. So. Perfect Soccer, your personal accounts, anything you want to just throw out there, go right ahead and use this time now.
Is your audience – so what is your audience? Your audience is soccer players, soccer fanatics, people who want to learn the game, people who don't want anything to do with soccer? Like
So it's all over the place, right? So we got people who are the big ones we got are from my former school where I played, who still have – either time left in the college game. They have their parents listen to it who have kids who are still coming up through the system. But then there are also people who are older, withdrawn from the game, who are just listening because they like the game and they like the stories that we can tell through it. So it's a very wide gamut. But there are, I believe, a lot of people who will still be playing. Yeah.
All right, so the reason why I ask is I've created a division or a email list or a funnel or a website to speak to the specific needs of any individual at any stage in the process up to point of goal. So, okay. So if you want to, I think the one thing that is most important that every single player, parent, person, individual learns is financial literacy, right? So the first thing I'll plug and tell you is to go to leverageinvestmentgroup.com. And there I have a financial literacy course where I just break down how I learned how to teach myself how to learn financial literacy. In that, there's also a secondary tab, which is real estate investing, which is my entire real estate investment model, and how to build it for yourself if that's what you're wanting to do. I think we've got 20 plus property portfolio out in the Kansas City area that we're building. So my business partner, Mark Pelosi, shout out Mark Pelosi. We built that together with Leverage Investment Group. We'll eventually be adding options trading eventually and cryptocurrency education, not trading, because it's more important that everybody's understanding the fundamentals of that. So the main thing, educational platforms, that's what I'm creating. That's what I like to create. I want to teach people how to teach themselves and how to do it for themselves. So all these things are just educational resources. So first and foremost there, if you're a soccer player or parent, you want to understand the game on a deeper level, you want to improve the mental aspect of your game, or you want to just improve your ability to discipline yourself. So discipline is a practice. We talked about this on the call. Most people don't know how to practice that. And just like I said, the number one thing that I think is most important is the financial literacy aspect. More important than that is the time literacy aspect. So most people don't know how to budget their time, and that's their biggest problem. And then that bleeds into financial and all that kind of stuff, right? But if you're only going to focus on one, financial, if you're really about it, time. And my time management process and sheet is within all of our books: Perfect Soccer Player Blueprint, The Ultimate College Soccer Recruiting Blueprint, The 3 S's of Self-Awareness. Literally anything that we do of an educational purpose or background, even like this call, we break down into the aspects that are most valuable and educational, and then we'll add it to the platform in the background so people can access it for free. If you want to do that and get access to that for free, go to perfectsoccerskills.com/login account. And like I said, there's a paid way to get involved in what I'm doing, but there's also a free. So if you don't want to pay the fee to join in, then you'll have to watch a video and send an email telling me what you learned to get in, right? So it's not like ridiculous, right? But this is how we're disrupting the pay-to-play system. Okay. If you're wanting to follow me specifically and up to date on stuff like that, QuincyAmarikwa.com/about. That's the best place to go for that. And I'll leave it at there because I'll end up adding too many things. So if you're wanting all of that, I'll keep that page updated. So you'll see, the LinkedIn account. If you're wanting to access or reach out through that, you want to join the MSL Mental Strength League weekly newsletter, Perfect Soccer weekly newsletter, the financial literacy course, the real estate, all that kind of stuff. You'll be able to get all that information and updated on that on QuincyAmarikwa.com/about. Yeah, I don't want to end up, because then I'll end up spending all day plugging everything, guys. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody who has made it this far. If you made it this far, Quincy, thank you so much for joining us today. This was nothing short of phenomenal. I have no words to describe how amazing this was. I have learned more in this 3-hour conversation than I have probably in the last week and a half of just going to work and existing. Thank you. I don't know if the guys have anything else they want to say. I'm just, yeah, I can't put anything else into words. This was fantastic, and I hope whoever's listening this far has taken something from this and learned from this, because there is so much here that you can learn from a conversation we were having. And I can't thank you enough for being here. Make sure everybody goes follows Quincy and goes over to all of his websites and learns as much as they can, because there's so much to learn from Quincy here. And then make sure you're following us as well: Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and everywhere you get your podcasts. Anybody else have anything else they want to say before we call it a night?
I think we're good.
All righty. Guys, thanks again so much for making it this far. This has been another episode of Designated Players Podcast, and we'll catch you on the next one. See ya.
Awesome. So you guys recorded this audio. Did you also do video?
Yep, we did both.
Okay, cool. I think I've got it recording as well too. So if you guys got all that and you're good to go, we should be good. And I think once you've got all the post-produced stuff and everything's finalized, send it over our way so we can get it published onto our channels and reshared and all that stuff.
Yep. Cool. Adam, were you were recording this yet?
No, it just said recording. I don't think
so
I was allowed to because I wasn't the host.
Okay, so we might need to nab it off of you, Quincy, because.
Okay, so once it, you guys are in contact with Katie, right?
Yep.
Okay, so this will automatically go to the cloud once it's finished processing and sending. Just send Katie a message, say, hey, will you please send us over the link to the download of the raw file? So you guys got it.
Sounds good.
Fantastic.
Cool.
Awesome. All right, guys. Hey, no, I appreciate it. Thanks for the time and all the questions. That was fun.
Yeah, it really was.
Awesome, guys. Well, good luck with everything, and I'm sure we'll be talking here soon.
Yeah,
yes,
definitely. Thank you.
Thank you.
Later, guys.
Later.
Okay.